Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
This is ESPN 1025 The Game. From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa
I appreciate that.
and other smart speakers. 1025 and 1063
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
got pass rushers.
Awesome game. Second flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase McCabe, Willie Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee.
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason on Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
This is a new level of geek you got going on here.
And welcome in to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase here on 1025 The Game. ESPN Radio Nashville. You can hear us on 1063. And, of course, the Game Nashville app. Willie Donick here with you on this Monday morning. And Derek Mason is back. So we have two-thirds of the crew. We have been shuffling one by one, two by three. All three of us gone, I think, at one point. We've been working in
we're
the
just trying to get it all in
here. Yeah, we're
getting it all in
recharging the
before-
batteries
yes.
here before we get this thing cranked up. And Chase will be back with us Wednesday, so at that point we'll be at full strength and ready to rock and roll for the entire football season. But Derek, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks, Willie. I appreciate it, man. I'm back. I'm recharged. Vacation was wonderful. The kids and I had a wonderful time. My daughter, kudos to my daughter, because it's like I told them at the beginning, like, listen, just pick a place, research it, and we'll go. Just pick a place, research, and we'll go. My daughter took the reins. Her and my son researched it. They picked their place, and then my daughter, she planned everything. She planned the dinners. She planned the trips. She did everything. We had to stop in Mallorca for a while, and then we had to stop in Madrid. And she planned each little, excursion or whatnot. So I take my hats off to my daughter because, she's just one of those kids that, she makes sure. She almost is like the mother, in a sense. She makes sure everything is done properly. And if it's not done properly, boy, she gets a little irritated. But, yeah, we had a wonderful time, the kids and I. We enjoyed every bit of it. So, but the time difference is still kicking me in the rear end.
You know what? It took me
Yeah, because you guys were gone,
we
too.
were in Ireland.
Yeah.
We got back, and I was on the show on Friday, so I got a few reps in.
Okay,
So I feel
okay.
like I worked the rust off on Friday. We had a fun show with Joe Dubin, who's now with us for the Game Blitz on Friday night. So he did 4 hours with me on Friday, then 6 hours with Elijah 6 to midnight for the high school football game blitz, which was fantastic. So high school football's rolling, college football gets rolling this weekend, and then, of course, down the road we'll get the NFL will be full throttle. But we went to Ireland. It's a 5-hour difference. And it's easier coming back. Going there was brutal, losing all that time. Coming back, I was like falling asleep hard at like 9 o'clock at night here, and then getting up at about midnight, and then it took a few days. But I think I'm back to normal now.
Yeah, we were 7 hours ahead, so it was bad going, but not that bad because I kind of adjusted. But coming back, I was going to bed right around the time. I was getting sleepy right around 9 or 10, but then waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I got to get my sleep patterns back acclimated to here in Nashville. But, we enjoyed it.
All right.
So,
well, we're going to do a little bit of everything today. We're going to do heavy Titans, of course. So we're excited to break down the game with the Buccaneers, with Derek. He's got some good – I can tell you're recharged because you got a lot – you're already firing stuff at Joe, Robbie on the way out. Here's my opinion about this. We've been texting about the game since it happened on Saturday. And so we've got a lot to go through as the Titans get ready. But, before we really get into the game, Derek, it still is a big theme for me that there's all of us that are just diving into every play, everything that happens with this team, and then there's how the national media perceives the Titans. And it's hard because, back in the day, at least the starters would get in there a little bit.
Exactly.
And you would have a little bit of a peek at some guys and maybe a better feel for what's happened. Now there's so much mystery because, these games, why even watch the game? Like it was hard to justify watching the game before. But all that being said, because so few guys, Ryan Tannehill hasn't played, Derrick Henry hasn't played, I still hear a lot of buzz about the Colts. Much more buzz about the Colts than the Titans.
Because the Colts are it all boils down to the quarterback. If the Tennessee Titans were in the Colts position last year, they'd end up getting, a quarterback. Say they got Ryan Tannehill, and Ryan had come off of a season like Matt Ryan, where say if he was an MVP one year and he had taken his team to a Super Bowl. That's why I believe people are so enamored by Indianapolis right now, because they have the fresh kid on the block now. It's like the new kid coming to school. Matt Ryan is the new kid coming into the division. And now because this is such a quarterback-driven league, people are looking at Indianapolis. They're saying, well, they got, if not the number one running back in the NFL, he's number 2 behind Derrick Henry. They got an offensive line that they're putting back together. They got a defense that's young, but they're coming up. They have some guys on the outside on the perimeter, some skilled guys. They're young, but they're also, to them, they probably believe that they are a quarterback away from these young guys on the outside really taking that step forward. So people are looking at, because they already know what the Titans are, and they're looking at Indianapolis and saying, well, they got a former MVP, a guy that took his team to a Super Bowl, a guy that's a leader. A head coach that's a leader, a head coach that is great at developing quarterbacks, even though we know he doesn't need to develop Matt Ryan any more than what he is. But they're looking at this as a situation of they got all the new kids on the block. The Titans don't.
Yeah.
So I think people are more intrigued about what Indianapolis can do than not, because when Tom Brady was at New England, the talk wasn't New England. The talk was everybody else, because people knew what New England was going to be and what they were going to do. It's just the new kids on the block. This team got a new quarterback. What are they going to do? Do they now take a step forward in challenging New England? Well, Indiana's in the same situation. With them getting Matt Ryan, they've moved a step closer. And many say they have overtaken Tennessee as far as winning the division.
There's 2 reasons in my mind that so many people right now continue to pick the Colts. Now, in another week or so, once the cuts are made, once the final rosters are set, that's when we'll really see it. But my suspicion is it's not going to change. But there's two reasons why I think people are leaning Colts for the division. You just hit on one of them. It's like the new toy, right? The Matt Ryan belief, all of the good vibes that you're hearing from camp. It seems like it's working well. And the idea is they already had a really good team, and now you get them a quarterback that might be a slight upgrade. That'll be enough to overtake the Titans. And the other thing that the Titans are seeing, you're seeing the perception. The last impression, the big loss against the Bengals, that creates I think a stigma with a lot of, I'm talking about the national media here. I'm not talking about the people that watch this team every week here. That stigma, the Derrick Henry question mark, and I think the overall impression that the Titans overachieved last year, and the statistics don't really back up how good the record was, that they were a bit of an overachieving 12-5 and not a legit 12-5. Whereas I think those of us that watched here thought that they had a lot go wrong. They had a lot of adversity and still got to 12-5. So I look at it a little differently than I think people do from the outside. And then they see the whole overhaul, the trade of A.J. Brown, I think from the national perspective, has them taking a step back.
Well, I think I think the season last year was an overachievement based on the injuries they had. When Derrick Henry goes down, people didn't think that people thought this team was dead in the water when Derrick Henry went down. It's like, okay, this team might not even make it to the playoffs now that Derrick Henry's not playing. But they kept the ship more than afloat. They kept moving. Well, people didn't think the defense was going to be what it was. Well, the defense ended up being, one of the top 10 defenses in the National Football League. So, yes, they did overachieve, but I think that had they not had those injuries with Derrick Henry and, the receivers going in and out, this team still would have been, a 12-5, 13-4 team to me, because I just felt they were, as long as the defense was playing the way they were playing, they were complete at every position on the field.
I agree. So with that in the backdrop, we're going to break down the game starting in the next segment here. A little later, we're going to check in on Nashville SC. They finally busted through. They've been sort of due for a breakout game. They got it last night. They won 4-0 against Dallas. Crowd had a great night in the late start at Geodis Park. Later today, the Nolensville Little League team plays. They're in the U.S. quarterfinal at 2 o'clock on ESPN. That'll be a lot of fun to check out. They've done really, really well out there so far, 2-0. And so we'll check in on that a little bit later in the show. But a lot of in and out. We'll get the breakdown of the Titans and the Bucks. Teron Davenport will give us his takes at 11 a.m. But we'll get with D-Mase. We're going to pick his brain. We're going to start with Traylon Burks on the other side because everybody will be really curious to hear what D-Mase has to say about his progress. We have some comments that Mike Vrabel made. In the preseason games, it's pretty obvious. He hasn't had those big moments like we've seen in practice day in and day out. So stay tuned. We're going to talk Traylon Burks when we come back here on Chase, Willy, and D-Mase here on 102.5 The Game.
Join Chase McCabe for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 for all the news in the world of motorsports.
Joey Logano gets the very first victory in the next-gen car
while hearing from the big names.
Two-time champion Kyle Busch.
Being able to bring NASCAR, the Cup Series, back to Nashville is cool.
It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway
on ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey football fans, Patrick Mahomes here, and I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
Tennessee has never been a stranger to progress, and with all the changes going on, people want an affordable way to protect their families, which is why so many Tennesseans trust us. At Farm Bureau Health Plans, helping people find peace of mind has never gone out of style. Just click fbhp.com, call us, or visit one of our many offices. Farm Bureau Health Plans, protecting Tennesseans since 1947.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
This week's Nashville's Best Deal is Seafood Sensation. Often imitated but never duplicated, Seafood Sensation is Nashville's original seafood restaurant. Right now, you can get half off a $25 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals and enjoy some of your favorite seafood dishes, like their crab legs platter, grilled salmon, and more. That's Seafood Sensation, located at 2719 Jefferson Street near the TSU campus. Get half off a $25 gift card while they last at thegamenashville.com/deals.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hungered in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungeredInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Game plan perspective, can you kind of figure out ways like to get manufactured touches for them?
Well, we can do that with everybody, just not in a second preseason game.
Overall, though, improved consistency from when we last talked about it in Baltimore from like the week of practice into the game?
Yeah, I think that there was, certainly improvements on things that we had talked about, and then there are going to be, adjustments or coaching points that we'll make with them and him and everybody else when they come in tomorrow.
There's Mike Vrabel, some thoughts on his first-round wide receiver, Treylon Burks, which, of course, all of us know. And every day we're dissecting so much stuff. I'm trying to go macro a little bit today. That's why I started the discussion with Derek on the national perception of the Titans. We're getting into we've gotten so deep into the woods with every position battle, and we're gonna break it all down today before the show is over. But there's so much riding on Treylon Burks. Everybody knows it, and he has not lit it up in the preseason game so far. Even though I think all of us would say we like what we see in the practices day in and day out. And Nick, do you have the first question? Here is how the press conference started yesterday with Mike Vrabel. So it's really no surprise that we're going to start our discussion with this today.
Treylon Burks, the snaps he got last night, are you seeing him get targeted in games the way you'd like to?
Well, the thing that I've always tried to say with regards to receivers is they can't control when they get the ball. Okay, all they can control is that they get open and that we can review the film and say, hey, this is where we, would like the ball to go. I don't want to tell quarterbacks, hey, throw it to this guy. That's not the direction that we really want to head. But was really encouraged by some of the things that he did, especially without the football, trying to block. There were times that he was open, whether that be for a catch and run. And then there's some other times where, we would like to see a better route, just continue to progress and work on the conditioning in the game and all the things that are required of the receivers.
All right, so there's Mike Vrabel. Mm-hmm. Treylon Burks got a lot of reps. He was in the game late even when Logan Woodside was playing. I think he made his first catch pretty late in the game.
Yeah.
During that time where I think we're all getting a little fatigued. Like, is this game ever going to end?
There's a 5-yard out from the inside position.
Who are some of these guys that are out there? So he's not getting the ball thrown to him that much. We've seen a lot of protections break down. Mm-hmm. And so you heard Mike Vrabel's answer. And so there's two things we want to get to. Number one, just give me your overall impression of what we're seeing from Treylon Burks in the preseason games.
You're not seeing much. And I think that's a disservice to Treylon Burks and you as an organization trying to find out what you have in this receiver early on. Now, the question was asked of Vrabel, hey, listen, are you trying to, manufacture, ways to get him the ball early? And listen, Vrabel was right. You don't want to tell the quarterback who to throw it to. The defense will dictate who you throw it to, or the coverage will dictate who you throw it to. But you can't tell me that, and I don't care if it is a second preseason game. My thing is, his answer tells me, well, you shouldn't be running plays anyway in preseason. If that's the case, if you're thinking, oh, it's only the second preseason game and you don't want to show anything, well, don't run no plays. Just hand the ball off. 24 power, 25 power, straight up the gut. That's all. If you don't want to show anybody what you're doing, that's all you do. Okay, so that answer, it flew over my head.
So you would like to see.
I want to see this young man.
Just get the ball in his hands.
Get the ball in his hand, whether it's a quick hitch,
even in the preseason,
a quick slant, a smoke. Get the ball in this man's hands and see what he can do. I said this before. You can't allow a receiver just to float around because after a while he doesn't feel as if he's a part of the game. You got to get, especially someone like Treylon Burks, a young guy, still trying to figure his way out. Get him the ball early. Again, it could be a hitch, it could be a smoke, it could be a slant. Put the ball in his hands. Let him feel comfortable in the game, and then away he goes. But you can't sit here and say, no, we're not going to. That makes no sense because if you just think, and I'm only thinking of past experience for me. When I left here and went to Baltimore, the first pass in the game, it was to me. You know why? Not because I asked for it, because they wanted to see, hey, listen.
Let's get him involved.
Let's get him involved. Let's get him and the quarterback on the same page early.
Mm-hmm.
You telling me you can't do that with Treylon Burks?
Well,
I don't understand
it's a complicated question because they're trying
No, it's not complicated, Willie.
Well, with the Malik Willis thing and the pass protection thing, I didn't see that they were able to kind of go there. But I think it's a really interesting thing you're bringing up because the answer to Teron's question, and Teron will come on with us at 11, it did seem like Vrabel sort of shrugged it off and said, well, we wouldn't show that. It sounded to me like, okay, we are going to do these things, but we don't want to show anybody what we're going to do in the preseason game. I guess there's merit to that.
So here's the thing. So you say you won't do it in a preseason game with
now,
Burks.
I'm just relaying.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying Vrabel said
I disagree with you.
Vrabel said he wouldn't do it to Treylon Burks, but there were two instances in that game where Malik Willis faked the run, saw the blitz come. It's a run pass option. Saw the blitz come and he threw it to Phillips. Now he didn't. I think he hit Phillips on one of them. He missed him on the other. Mm-hmm. So why can't you do that with Treylon Burks? That's something you're going to do during the season, right?
I hope.
So if you're going to do that during the season, then to me, you can't pick and choose just because I don't think things. And I can be completely wrong on this. I don't think things are going the way they expected it to go with Treylon Burks. From this reason, and again, I'm only speaking from experience. He's your number one pick. He's the first round pick for you in the first round this past season. You got rid of one guy. You traded away your best receiver and drafted him. This guy, he started off, whatever, his conditioning wasn't right. Finally got his conditioning right. Okay, fine. He's going through practice. He's making some good catches, but he's still not in there a lot the way you expect him to be. Then you get him in a game, and I'm not asking him because he's not ready to be a starter. He's not going to be ready to be a starter game one. He's not.
So who is the starter?
Nick Westbrook-Akina.
Okay. And while you were gone, we have determined that he's going back to Akine.
Oh, it's Akine.
So we have to readjust.
Okay, I'm sorry. Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to it myself. I messed that up on Friday.
So it's going to be him and Robert Woods to start off, and then Kyle Phillips will be the slot guy.
Okay.
So in preseason, he's not even getting the snaps with the second team. Racey McMath, and I think who was on the outside? I think it might have been Phillips or Des Fitzpatrick, one of the guys. But he wasn't even in when they went to the second unit. He was the third wide receiver coming in. Something tells me that he's not picking up the offense the way they want him to. And listen, it's not a big knock. Offenses are very, the offenses sometimes can be one of those deals where you can have an easy offense and learn it, or you can have a very in-depth, playbook, and it takes you a minute to learn it.
Okay.
Coming from where you came from. Like, again, I only speak from experience. I came from an offense in college where the offensive coordinator, everybody, they were NFL guys. Nick Saban was an NFL guy. So a lot of our translations was NFL terms. A lot of it was NFL terms. So when I came here, when I got drafted, I was used to the terminology. Yeah. He may not be used to the terminology and the language yet. And it might take him some time. So they can't just throw him out there.
Okay.
So if you're watching the game and you know the game, you see this kid ain't in as much as you would want him to be. Now, yes, he was in late, but he's not. There are other guys they would rather put in before him. Not to say that Traylon Burks won't get there, but he's not there yet.
Okay. What factor in your mind is what they're trying to do with Willis in the first half of these games? Is that playing into what you're talking about? Is that making it harder for them to do what you'd like to see them do? And that's just, let's run some plays designed to get Burks the ball.
No, it's not. Because I think Willis seems like he's picking up the offense. Now, we'll get into Willis later, but I think he has a grasp of the offense, but everything needs to speed up for him. Everything's still sort of like this. He's still trying to figure out where he knows the plays, but he's trying to figure out defenses and, where they're lined up on the defensive line and where the blitzes are coming from. He's still trying to figure that out. But as far as the plays, I think he's good with the plays. So I don't think it affects what they're going to do with Traylon Burks unless Traylon Burks doesn't know the plays as well as he should. And again, that's no knock. He's a young guy. It may take him a little bit longer to grasp everything.
He has been in the game a lot. I mean, that at least he was on Saturday.
Yeah, what I'm saying is he's in the game toward the latter part. When you go back and look at the game at the beginning, he wasn't in at the beginning. He wasn't the two starting receivers at the beginning.
Right.
And he wasn't even a part of the three wide receivers at the beginning because they bring Kyle Phillips in. That's another guy. We need to talk about him.
In the next segment, I want to ask you about Phillips.
He's going to be awesome. But they bring Kyle Phillips in as the third wide receiver. He still wasn't in when they were running the three wide receiver sets. Now, eventually, he did get in. He started to get in more. But again, that tells me they don't believe he's ready yet. Either he's not ready from a conditioning standpoint, because Vrabel did mention the conditioning. Mm-hmm. Either he's not ready in a conditioning standpoint.
And he's got the leg wrap on, too. That's the other thing. Did he tweak something against the Bucs? There apparently was a moment where he and I wasn't there, but I saw the clip. He caught it. I think he might have caught the pass for a touchdown, but he was limping a little bit. He didn't finish the practice. He came back the next day. Everybody thought no big deal, but then they saw he did have the leg wrapped. I don't know if that's contributing or not, but he played. He played all the way.
But he played, so you can't use that as an excuse. To me, it boils down to the young man. And again, it's not a knock. He just hasn't picked up the offense as quickly as some of the other guys. Kyle Phillips seems like he's picking up what they're asking him to do in the middle.
All right, so we'll come back to that. We'll talk about the other parts of this receiving core on the other side. Stay tuned. You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5 The Game, 106.3 in the Game Nashville app.
This is Colton Sissons, and this is Smashville.
Feeds now, Sissons coming on from the left circle, and Colton Sissons puts it in the net.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 1025, The Game.
Hello, I'm Joe Cordell of the domestic litigation firm Cordell & Cordell. Here are a few quick divorce tips that we provide our clients. Number 1, don't move out of your house just because your wife tells you to. Remember, that's your house too. And number 2, don't blow through the financial statements that you file with the court. These are key exhibits, and they often make or break your case. And number 3, watch the social networking. Expect your wife's lawyer to do a thorough online search. And incidentally, this is a two-way street. Now a bonus tip. Partner with your attorney in assembling evidence. You're one of the 2 leading experts on your life and marriage. Your attorney needs your input to achieve your goals. And finally, talk to your attorney before taking action. Good luck.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Nashville area attorneys, a partner men can count on. Online at CordellCordell.com. Cordell & Cordell, 810 Crescent Center Drive, Suite 160, Franklin, Tennessee, 37067.
Celebrate back to school season with Hiller. This month only, get free backyard upgrades when you replace essential home systems like a free Traeger grill with a new whole home generator or a free Yeti cooler with a new tankless water heater. And Hiller's keeping you cool for back to school with 0 interest financing for up to 12 months on select new HVAC systems. Visit happyhiller.com. Happy you'll be, or the service is free.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Tune in to ESPN 1025 The Game every Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 for ESPN's Trevor Maddich joining me, Jared Stillman, on Stillman & Company as we dive deep into the college football world and all the latest from the SEC. It's all brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
Listen to Stillman & Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 1025 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willy, and D-Mace.
Stillman & Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 1025 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 1063 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 1063 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is John Hines, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Oh, yes, one of my faves from Earth, Wind, and Fire. You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase here on 1025 The Game. Chase will be back with us on Wednesday, finishing up his vacation rotation, which all of us have been on here. We've been all around the globe here between the 3 of us. I think Chase was even in the bleachers at Wrigley here recently, which is always one of the best places in the world to be. No question about it. So you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every day. Our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. You can also text us or call us on our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Kevin texted us earlier when we were talking about how the Colts seem to be getting the edge in a lot of the predictions right now for the AFC South. He said, but the Colts have done the same thing 3 years in a row, and it hasn't made a difference. The Colts look bad right now with Matt Ryan so far, so I think the media is just dumb.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
So we'll see. The preseason predictions are what they are, no question about it. And so anyway, keep the calls and texts coming. We're talking about the wide receivers right now for the Titans. So Derek has expressed some concerns about Treylon Burks. He is a little bit more concerned about the lack of production. He's looking, reading between the lines a little bit and interpreting why he's not getting the ball much in these preseason games. Also look closely at where he came into the game, what position he was playing, and reading into what that could mean. But on the other side, Derek, you really like, and I think this goes to what all of us just ordinary observers are seeing. Kyle Phillips looks very impressive.
Yes, he does. And he's sort of a mixture, of Mark Mariani, myself. I think it's if you look at him from a return standpoint, and I had my times at returner. But I think Mark Mariani was just an excellent returner. and he reminds me of Mark Mariani from that standpoint. He puts his foot in the ground, and when he sees a crease, he hits it. He's not hesitating. He hits it and he goes. And he's like, okay, either I'm going to get 10 or I'm going to get nothing. There's no hesitation in what I do. I love that in the returner. I see the field, I see my blockers, I know where the return is supposed to go, and I trust the guys in front of me that if I make that one cut and hit where I'm supposed to hit, we'll be fine. I may not get a touchdown, but we'll get, 10, 15, 20 yards. He almost broke one, actually, in the game. And then from a receiver standpoint, he works that slot. I mean, it's like he's a veteran guy in the slot right now. Now, listen, things may change once we get in the season. You got veteran, nickel guys that get in there and they play it a little bit different. But as of now, he is a guy that I think is primed to be an impact player at that position, at that particular position, the slot guy, because he catches the ball well. He finds holes in zones. He's very quick and he's very sudden. Now, I don't know if he's a burner, but he is really quick in and out of his break, which makes it very difficult for defensive backs to cover him. And he's built up a rapport with the quarterbacks. He seemed like he's built up a rapport in practice with Ryan Tannehill. Seems like he's built up a rapport with Willis. And I don't know what the deal is with Woodside, but I'm sure there's a level of confidence with Woodside.
We're all wondering what the deal is with Woodside.
Exactly.
I think we're going to get to that a little bit later.
But Kyle Phillips, I think he, more than anyone, and I like Racey McMath too, but I think Racey needs to be more demonstrative out there. He's 6'3". Use that big frame, They're not 6'3" defensive backs. They're not 6'2" defensive backs. Dominate them with your strength, okay? You got the speed to run by them, but dominate them. Make it a physical game.
I want to ask you about the play to McMath. Again, we're all looking at these little tiny things that we see in these games. There's a play where Malik Willis sort of makes a read. Mm-hmm. He doesn't really plant. He just kind of throws it up there, and McMath is
Racey has to go up and get it.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because he's got the kind of frame where I really would have liked to see him power up and go up and try to get that, or chop his steps and challenge the defensive back, and even maybe get a PI there. Yeah,
because if he comes back for the ball, he gets a PI, but he didn't. If he just put Robert Woods in that same situation, Robert Woods goes up, because he understands that I can't allow the ball to come down to my body.
Yeah.
At least if I go up, I either catch it or I may get a pass interference. Racey McMath, he has to understand that, listen, I got a big body frame. I can't let the ball come down to me. Mm-hmm. Now I'm giving the defensive back an opportunity to make a play. If you slow down a little bit, go up for the ball, then you got a better opportunity of either catching it or getting the pass interference. So those are the things that he needs to sort of work on. Kyle Phillips, I think he's probably played the best thus far of all the receivers. He's done he's disciplined in what he does. He understands their concepts, understands how to get open, but then because he's a returner, he understands holes in the defense. He understands how to get open, how to set things up. I think he has been the guy that has played his way into a situation where he's going to be the starting H, or the whatever we call it an H, meaning the slot receiver, or you can call it a Y, it don't matter. But he's worked himself in a position where he's the starting third receiver and he's their punt returner. He has opened a lot of eyes in this camp. And the one eye that he's opened is going to help him out a lot is Ryan Tannehill. Ryan is going to consistently look for him on third downs, because I think he's proven that he can get open and he can catch the ball.
We're all dying to see the role definition once everybody starts playing for real. Mm-hmm. So let's circle back to Burks on that note. You mentioned the suddenness of Phillips. Mm-hmm. That's what you're sort of not seeing with Burks right now.
Yeah, I don't.
And I thought there was another example, too, of Burks, kind of like we were talking about with McMath. I thought there were times where adjusting to the ball in the air and going up in high point, using those long arms. I'd like to see a little bit more there, too.
And I wish they would give him more. Like, listen, if he's not going to run by nobody, he's just not. Now, it may be a situation in a game where he gets behind an individual, but if you ask him to, like, consistently, he's not going to consistently run by people. What he's going to do is he's going to big body people, which means if we're on the same plane, throw the ball up and let Traylon Burks use his athleticism to go get the ball. Let him use his big body, like I talked about with Racey McMath. Let him use his big body and those long arms to go up and get the ball. They're not doing that right now. Maybe because when Willis sees it, he sees covered. You know? He don't see no separation. In college, he saw a lot of separation, so he threw the ball. Well, in the NFL, if you got a 6'3" wide receiver and a 5'11" defensive back, that's open. Just throw it up there and let the big guy go out and make a play. It's either you get the ball or nobody gets the ball. That's what Willis and Burks, they need to figure out.
Okay.
He needs to understand that I'm 6'2", 6'3". I can go up and get the ball because I guarantee you, if A.J. Brown was in that same position and it was neck to neck, you think they're not just going to throw the ball up and let him go get it? They will.
And in the 11 o'clock hour, we're going to talk a lot about the quarterbacks and their role in all of this. Got a couple of good texts for you, Derek. Number one, this is from Kevin, of course, on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. It looked like Burks was open multiple times, and he wasn't getting the ball just because the quarterbacks aren't seeing the field correctly. And I do hear that, so I think that's where Teresa's question was coming from even in the first game, that there are times, and you know how this is, right? There's a lot of times where a wide receiver does feel like you're open. Like, what does Herm Edwards always say? Good wide receivers like 7-11, right?
Always open.
Yeah. You come back to the huddle. I was open. But are you seeing that? Are there times that he's open and they're just not throwing it to him?
I think what people need to realize is this, and it's hard, and I don't blame, our callers or our listeners, when they see something like that, they say, well, he was open. I don't blame them. But you got to understand the game. He may have been open, but the progression wasn't on his side just yet. The progression might have been left to right, but he was open on your right side late. So just because he was open doesn't mean he was necessarily in a progression where the quarterback could see him right away when he got open. Now, he might have saw him late, but late is not open anymore because now everybody sees you. But there were at least one or two situations in this past game. I can remember they were inside the 20, and Traylon Burks was running a crossing route, a shallow cross. I think Willis could have threw the ball, but here's where, again, Willis's his thinking and his mechanics gotta catch up.
Right.
He saw it. He wanted to throw it, but he hesitated, and then he looked away. You know why he hesitated? Because if you're just looking at the field from a TV standpoint, you think, man, there's nobody there. He's wide open. He'll run in for it, but no one saw the safety on top. Now that would have been, he still could have, threw the ball and Traylon would have called it, but he would have got tackled right then and there. But I think in Willis's mind, he think, I can't throw that because it might be an interception, or I don't want to get the wide receiver blown up. No, throw the ball and trust that your wide receiver is going to catch it. So there are situations in the game that maybe sometimes we as whether you want to call it fans or whatnot, when we're watching it from television, we may think, that's open.
You see everything from
right
there.
But then if you really look at the whole field, if they show it in a different angle, you see
all 22.
Exactly. It's really not open. But I think in that situation, I think it was in the second quarter.
Yeah, it was during the 2-minute drill.
2-minute drill. Traylon Burks, he should have thrown the ball. Mm-hmm. Now, he would have got tackled at about, 8-9 yard gain, or Traylon Burks could have broke the tackle. Mm-hmm. But he should have threw it. But in his mind, he saw that safety over the top. You saw him pump and hesitate, and then he went back, and I think he ended up throwing it to the sideline for completion.
Yeah, he did. I think it was Haskins, and they ended up scoring on the drive.
Yeah, they ended up scoring on that drive.
We got 1 minute. Here's one more quick text for you. This is from Jeff, and he's wondering, would Derek say Phillips has some Cooper Kupp, some Edelman, those shifty those great slot guys we all think of. Who was the guy way back with New England who could play some defensive back? Troy,
he played for New England.
Yeah.
Troy Brown.
I mean, we can think of a million of them, but just those really classic slot guys. Can Phillips be that kind of guy?
I think he
can. That's a high bar when you're looking at Kupp and Edelman. Those are the best in the game. We're talking like 100 catch guys there.
I think, but the Titans are not a 100 catch
team.
Yeah,
they don't have that guy.
Exactly. They're not going to, purposely try to get a guy to catch 100 balls. Now, he may catch 60 balls, 55, 60 balls, and that is a really good season for a rookie guy just playing the slot position. So I think he can develop into a guy that will catch, 70 balls a year, with a 10-yard average or 11-yard average, but he is a chain mover, and that's what you want on your team, especially at that position.
When we come back, we'll take a short pause on the Titans, a little change up off the fastball. Then Teron Davenport will join us at 11. We'll get Teron's perspective on the game on Saturday, but we're going to check in on the other kind of football. We call it soccer here in the States. Drake Hills was over at the Nashville SC game. Big win for them last night. We'll talk about their position, what that does for them. That's next on Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5 The Game.
The Sports Talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic every Saturday morning at 9.
I've got my extra large coffee.
As she talks about the big stories of the week.
Predators news, the Tennessee Titans.
And looks ahead to the weekend.
Oh, I'm so excited.
On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Temperatures have begun to warm across the mid-state and will top out today in the mid-80s across the Cumberland Plateau and outside of Nashville, with the upper 80s across the metro areas, partly cloudy to mostly sunny. For Fox 17, I'm Code Red meteorologist Zach Covey.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Jewelry business, it's in my blood. I've been doing it all my life, and it's my passion.
Meet Daniel Sabalas, a third-generation jeweler at Genesis Diamonds.
This line of work, it's all about honesty and trust. It's about building relationships.
And that's what drew Daniel to Genesis, where it's all about education, transparency, and respect for each customer.
It's based on a family business mentality, and that's how we are. We're here to educate, to guide you, and we make it very easy. So we really go out of our way to educate customers in the right way. There's no stress level, there's no tension. The customer can feel that.
All this while providing the guaranteed best value price.
I've never seen a company that has the best price like this that I've seen anywhere. We are a powerhouse of diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds. No commission salespeople, no pricing games, no risk, no pressure, no cutting corners.
Genesis Diamonds is going to give you the best price, best quality, guaranteed, no matter what.
Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Robbie Stanley.
Sometimes the overthinking that takes place, pretty mind-boggling.
Joe Rexrode.
Thought there was an issue. There's not an issue. There's no issue. They're doing wonderful.
Wake up and hang out with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday morning from 6 to 10.
Taking care of business this early in the morning.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I do not want to deprive people of a close-up of my face.
Watch live on YouTube, Twitch, and Periscope. Robbie Stanley.
They get a lead in that game and just totally close the door.
Joe Rexrode.
If he plays next year, it's disastrous.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase back at you here. 102.5 The Game. Big win for Nashville SC last night. A 4-0 shutout of Dallas. Offense. Gotta love to see it. It was really good atmosphere last night. My daughter was at the game. She had a blast. We're talking to Drake Hills. He's on the line with us. Covers the beat for Nashville SC. Willie Donick, Derek Mason here with you. Drake, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, guys, it's been a minute. D-Mase, good to talk with you. Same thing with you, Willie.
Well, Drake, they've been waiting for that game where they busted out. They finally had the kind of attack I think they've been looking for a while. And Dallas is a pretty good team. So a good win, maybe kind of a game changer going forward, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this Nashville team, there has not been a stint at any point from 2020 until now that Nashville has actually had to go through a winless streak to this degree. 6 games, and a part of that, you conceded 4 goals against Toronto, which is very uncharacteristic for a team that is known around the league as a team that doesn't allow a lot of goals game to game. So to go through and go up against Dallas, which, by the way, was second best defense in the Western Conference going into last night, to have that and against a playoff team like Dallas, absolutely, it is a turnaround, and it's going to be needed. Anibal Godoy, one of the starting midfielders for this team and the Panama national team, he said before the game on Friday that this is a team in Nashville that going in the final 7 games, they need at least 15 points. Getting a win is 3 points, so getting 5 wins is a pretty tough task. When you look at it, getting 5 out of 7 or 8 games. But given where Nashville's come from and the amount of losses and draws that they've conceded over the past month, it's necessary for them to have a comfortable spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, right now Nashville in 6th with the win last night. So those 3-pointers are huge. 9, 9, and 9 is their record. That's if you had odds on that after 27 games, that's a pretty interesting breakdown here. But looking ahead, Drake, it's all about peaking at the right time, right? So just getting in is half the battle, and you hope that there's still something there to where if they peak at the right time, they could make another playoff run.
Absolutely, and you know what, Willie, it actually helps given the teams that are around them as well. I mean, we've seen it in, regardless of whatever sport you love, just the amount of love and luck that you can get from the teams around you. And the fact that that was Nashville's first win since July. But the reality is the teams around them, like whether it be Minnesota, it has been doing well, but other teams, let's say like Vancouver or Seattle's been struggling. Portland has certainly been struggling. Colorado as well. So the teams that are just below them and just above them are not red hot either. So it's a chance for Nashville to, even if they don't win out or if they win the majority of their games, if the form around them continues the way it is, then maybe they can still peak into the playoffs come mid-October.
We're talking with Drake Hill of the Tennesseans, talking Nashville SC had a big win the other day, 4-0. Now, this team has struggled with scoring goals. Obviously, they scored 4 the other night, but this team has struggled scoring goals. And more importantly, C.J. Sapong, who had, 12, 14 goals last season, he's only at 5 this season. What has been a contributing factor to that?
You know what, I think just strictly from my own analysis, I think there's been a lot of weight on CJ in terms of the minutes that he's playing, in the games that he's playing. It hurts that Teal Bunbury, who they signed, a veteran, center forward, a veteran striker, a goal getter, over 10 years in the league with MLS, has scored a lot of goals, came from New England Revolution, which was the best offense last year in MLS. He's been hurt. Teal's been hurt for the majority of the season. And before this past week, he had just come back from essentially like a groin injury. He came back 4 goals in 4 games. And then he gets hurt again, and all of a sudden CJ's back into carrying a lot of the load. So that's one point. But also, if you take a look at who C.J. Sapong has been over his career, again, another veteran center forward, been in the league since 2011. If you look at his previous stops with Chicago Fire for 2 years and before that 4 years with Philadelphia, he's really popped off in his first couple of years. He'll score 9 goals and then 7 goals, and then all of a sudden he hit up 16 goals for Philadelphia Union in 2017, and then he follows it up with 4 goals the following year. But then he goes to Chicago, scores 13 goals in his first year, and then with some injuries and some other setbacks in 2020, scores just 2 goals. So CJ has been a first-year, hot iron for whatever team he's played for. But I think it's just about, getting that confidence back and maybe sharing some of that load with some of the other players, hoping that, Teal, Bunbury, and other guys can get healthy.
We'll talk with Drake Hill again for Tennessee and Talk in Nashville SC. Now, with that being said, Drake, do you think the win yesterday over Dallas, then they got Vancouver and Colorado coming up, do you think this can be sort of a momentum thing for them? And then once they get all those guys back that are hurt, this could be a team, like Willie said, they hit the stride at the right time?
Absolutely. And the reason being is, to my point earlier, that the next two teams they got to go to Vancouver, so that's going to be a tough travel, probably over five hours on a plane to get over there. But Vancouver has not been a playoff team for the majority of the season. As a matter of fact, they're currently outside the playoff picture as well. So, and then of course Colorado is in the same boat. Colorado's been inconsistent over the past couple of months. They started decent, but they are also not a playoff team. So I think it's important that you get some points from those two games. But I think, and I asked Coach Gary Smith this after the game last night, which is, yes, you haven't been scoring, and yes, you haven't been winning. You also haven't been doing those things at home. You've been losing games at home. The Minnesota and the Toronto games a couple of weeks back was the first back-to-back home loss for this team in its history. So to have that and bounce back in the way they did against Dallas at home in front of your home crowd, what did that do? And he said, you know what? If you're going to struggle on the road, but don't do it in front of your home friends. So I think it's about the emotional and the mental part of Nashville getting rejuvenated, as well as just the technical side and everything that happens on the field. So absolutely, I think it'll be a big rejuvenation for this team.
Drake, before we let you go, I got to ask you about the performance of Hani Mukhtar last night. I thought he was going to get the third goal. He had a couple of really good looks for the hat trick there, but the one that everybody was buzzing about, the impossible angle shot, that was classic stuff. So everybody that went to the game or was watching the game like myself, you had a lot to take away from last night, just from a highlight standpoint. He always seems to be a guy that gives you a reason to want to go to the game.
Yeah, but it was funny because both Hani and Gary, they were joking. He decided to score the hardest chance he had the entire game, which is quite ironic given the amount of opportunities, like you said, that he could have gotten the hat trick, especially in that second half. But he's, in terms of goals and assists, what we call the goal contributions in soccer, he is tied for most in the league at 25. Goals plus assists. He's got 25 of those, tied with Sebastian Giroudi from Austin. That's MVP numbers, and we have to get back to what we talked about last year with him being an MVP candidate, second in the race. And on top of that, like you said, this guy, he is, even when Nashville hasn't been playing well, he's been the buoyancy and the flair and the style that Nashville hasn't had. So certainly, something to look forward to. A very home-heavy schedule for Nashville, so that means more Hani Mukhtar.
That is a good thing, no question about it. So good luck to the guys. I hope they continue to play well here, and we're going to go with that peak at the right time theme, and we're going to be hopeful for that and hopefully another appearance in the postseason. Drake Hills has been with us. Drake, thanks a lot for the time as always. We'll talk to you down the road.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. All right, good stuff from Drake, and we will check in with him from time to time. But in the meantime, when we come back, we'll rotate back to American football. I was in Ireland. They call it football over there. You don't know what they're talking about. Rugby, soccer,
be anything.
They've got the college game this weekend. It's who's playing over there? Nebraska and somebody. I saw the stadium in Dublin. It's a huge stadium, 80-something thousand, where they're normally playing rugby or hurling is a big thing over there. But Nebraska plays who? Navy? I can't remember. They've got a game, a college football game. Notre Dame played there in the past. They like to host a game over there. But we'll go back and talk Titans with Teron Davenport, his weekly visit with us at 11 a.m. On Mondays. So get used to that. You're going to want to hear from Teron. We'll get his takeaways from the game on Saturday night between the Titans and the Bucs. Stay tuned. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 The Game.
You watch The Game.
And he's going. Nobody's going to catch Watch him. Derrick Henry, touchdown.
We talk the game.
I don't think it was a bad play, but he took out their goalie.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Some people were made to follow the instructions. We were made to make our own. To always measure twice and never cut corners. Unless, of course, we've got a compound miter saw. Northern Tool and Equipment is a problem solver's paradise. There's nothing we can't find, fix, or figure out together. We're made for this. Start solving your projects today at northerntool.com.
It's a fact. Guys hate going to the doctor. But when it comes to erectile dysfunction and low testosterone issues, men from all over Middle Tennessee have been thrilled seeing Dr. Alderson and their providers at the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Men all the way up to 95 years old have jump-started their sex drive and energy levels. Lots of men suffer with ED for years, but now they're able to enjoy sex again. Tom from Nashville said, "The Tennessee Men's Clinic has changed my life. I have been able to be intimate with my wife for the first time in 5 years. She thought this problem was because of her, but the pills never worked for me. I had given up until I went to the clinic and realized there were more options for erectile dysfunction. Now I'm happy and my wife is happy. A visit for only $99, and that includes all testing, including a PSA and testosterone test. Give the guys at the clinic a call at 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090. Or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatments, extra, results vary.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase.
Stowing and Company. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushes.
Awesome game 7. Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase McCabe, Willie Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee,
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
This is a new level of geek you got going on here.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on to hour number 2 here on 102.5 The Game. Willie Donick and Derek Mason here with you today. Nick Keyser back behind the glass producing as always. Chase McCabe will rejoin us on Wednesday, and we will be at full strength. But we are at full strength at the moment because we have TD, Teron Davenport, who is presented by Crane Works and Rental Works, your source for crane and equipment rental. Visit craneworks.com. Teron joins us every Monday at 11. So Teron was on hand, looking sharp, I might add, at the Titans' home preseason opener. Teron, good to talk to you as always.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm upbeat, Teron, I'm sure as you are, because of the Mets' comeback victory yesterday. A crazy game. I'll be honest.
Got to work the Mets in.
I got to work them in there with Teron because we got a special thing going on right now. And we've got the Subway Series going tonight. Yankees-Mets at Yankee Stadium. So Teron's bragging rights on the sidelines the next couple of days of practice. There's a lot on the line here, Teron. There's a lot of Yankee fans lurking in our midst who cover the Titans.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Between Paul Koharski and Terry McCormick, it's always good to be able to rub it into those guys. You know, they are Yankee fans, and I'm a Mets fan, so we got a little rivalry going.
Yep, and so no worse than a split in the season series because the Mets won the first 2 games, but the next 2 are at Yankee Stadium. We'll see if the rain holds off tonight. But, Teron, let me start with this. You asked a number of really good questions yesterday, I thought, to Mike Vrabel. I want to ask you he kind of gave you a hard time. He actually, I could tell, he thought it was a good question, and he sort of came back around to it. But
it was a good question.
You asked, well, I think Derek wants to ask maybe about the offensive side of the ball, but I want to ask you about the defensive backs and who's playing, who needs to play. And let's start with Caleb Farley because he's a fascinating guy. I mean, you can see when he's moving around out there the length the acceleration. You see what made him a first-round pick. But as you pointed out, he hasn't played a lot, so he kind of needs to play. And right now, he is playing a lot.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I think we kind of forget that this is a guy that has only played, 26 games at cornerback, and 3 in the NFL. So it's still a lot of patience that you have to have and a lot more development for him just as a player. And I think that's something to keep in mind. So it is good that he's continuing to play the way he has been. And, even though he's playing like into, the third quarter, he had the most snaps out of any corner. So I was curious about that. And I think really it is just a matter of getting him as many reps as possible.
We'll talk with Teron Davenport discussing the Tennessee Titans in their past game this weekend with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, one guy, staying on the defensive side of the ball, one guy that has continued to show out is Teair Tart. I mean, that big fella he's playing. I mean, he's clogging up holes. He's getting in the backfield. He's I guess having Jeffrey Simmons in that room with you does benefit a lot because I see him using some of those moves that Jeffrey uses. And this big fella's getting in the backfield, and he's making a name for himself.
Yeah, he really is, and I'm glad that he's doing that. A fellow Philly guy, doing this thing. I definitely appreciate that. But just watching him, it's interesting the progress that he's made because he's gone from a guy who was on the ground a lot, as a rookie, to now where this dude is in the backfield quickly. I mean, there were some times he grabbed Luke Gadecki and destroyed him, and then quick swim move over to center, and he's in the backfield, tackles for loss. I've been impressed with him, and even with the D-line coach, Terrell Williams, he said that he just wanted to see it more consistently, and I think Tart has shown to be a consistent player, and he cemented himself as, in my opinion, second to Jeffrey Simmons as far as, that interior side of things against the run.
Now, let's move over to the offensive side of the ball. You did ask a really good question, and Vrabel's answer, I understand why he gave the answer, but come on, be honest. I mean, you can find ways to get Treylon Burks the ball.
Right.
Because to me, when you allow a guy to just, he was right. You don't want to tell the quarterback who to throw it to, but you do want to set up plays where you can get the ball in this man's hands very quickly, whether it be a hitch, a quick slant, or a smoke route. And the Titans, it just seems like they haven't done that.
Yeah, and that's the thing because preseason, right, you're not necessarily game planning against the opposing team as much as you're game planning on ways to get your guys in situations to see what you want to see from them. And I think with Burks, you want to see what he could do with the ball in his hands. Jet sweeps, quick screens, as you said, hitches, those type of things. Get the ball to him quickly and let him make something happen. And as receivers, you got to get involved early. That's the one way to get a guy to really check in, get him involved early, and you could get into a groove, and then you could really see what he could do. And I thought that they need to do a better job of that, and for whatever reason, it's not happening. Now, I will say this. There were times where he was open, and, Malik Willis didn't get him the ball. You look at that play right before Willis made the beautiful throw and pocket presence to Chigakakwa for the touchdown. You had Burks coming across. He was coming open on a crosser, and that probably would have been a big catch and run, but, Willis wasn't able to get him the ball.
Yeah, and those are the things I think, Teron, that, the quarterback has to understand because I know exactly which play you're talking about, and Willie and I talked about it. He looked at Treylon, pumped it, hesitated, and then threw it, I think, to Haskins on the sideline. Yeah. Those are situations where he and Treylon Burks and, the offensive coordinator need to get on the same page. Like, listen, if he's open, throw the ball. Just throw it and allow him to go get it. But another guy that I'm really interested in is Kyle Phillips. I think this guy has already won himself a spot on this team from a return standpoint. But he is showing that he could be a valuable asset. He can be your go-to guy on third down in the slot.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's something that stood out when they do those hurry-up periods. I mean, there was one time where Ryan Tannehill went to him, 2-3 times in a row in those hurry-up periods. And, in fact, I haven't seen a single period where Tannehill didn't go to him at least once, during practice. So that tells me he's already got the trust of the quarterback. And once you get that, you're home free. You know what I mean? So I agree. He's definitely cemented himself a role. And for him, it's just he's sure-handed. He's always where he needs to be. So it's easy to trust him, and that's really how he's been able to, cement himself as a guy that kind of, Tannehill's going to look for.
Talking with TD, Teron Davenport, presented by Craneworks and Rentalworks. And TD, I want to ask you about the two new defensive backs that the Titans went out and got, some guys that have a little bit of experience. I noticed Lonnie Johnson Jr. the other night. I like his length. He's a little bit like Farley in that respect. He's got a little size to him, and I guess he's got some versatility as well. Where do you see these two guys fitting in?
Yeah, Lonnie Johnson Jr. is interesting. I liked him. It was Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I remember he was, a pretty feisty corner, long, like you said, pretty solid in press, but they wanted to get him at safety. So you get some versatility there. And he came right in. First practice, he had an interception. It was a tip pass by Shaheem Carter. But I think that versatility that he brings, when you have a long guy like that has cornerback skills, you know what you could do with him. Put him against move tight ends. And that's what they like to do with Dane Cruikshank, and that's kind of where Theo Jackson was going to go towards before he had his setback that has kept him out of practice a couple of days. So, yeah, that's a good acquisition there, and especially be able to get him for as little as they did. Was the other one, was it Tyree Gillespie that you mentioned? Or
yeah, the one who's they traded with the Raiders. They gave up a pick.
Yeah, that's Tyree Gillespie. And one thing that you can't coach is length and speed. And this was a 4.3 guy coming out, so that's definitely going to help. He had one where he came down off the post and he got a pass breakup that I was really impressed with. So that little competition there with Theo Jackson, A.J. Moore, Tyree Gillespie, Lonnie Johnson Jr., it's going to be interesting. And Josh Kalu's in the mix too. And Kalu had a good game on Saturday, by the way. Forced fumble, a couple PBUs as well.
And before we throw it back to Derek here, what do we know anything about Elijah Mould? And this is now going on a good while where we have not seen him at all.
Yeah, he practiced in one of the joint practices he took part in, and then we didn't see him in the game. He didn't suit up there. I don't know if him not suiting up for the game is as injury focused as it is. Okay, you know what you got in him. You don't need him out there. But I definitely am going to monitor that. We have a practice at 1:30 so that we'll get to see. So I'll be looking for 24 out there. And I'm telling you, man, Roger McCurry is pushing a lot of folks. So, I would imagine that he wants to be out there to go ahead and practice. That way he can make sure that nickel spot continues to be his.
Now, TD, can the Titans just, move past this project thing with Dylan Ratons? I watched the guy basically the whole game, and it wasn't good. He's okay at run blocking, but he's horrible. And I mean horrible. And I usually don't say that about guys, but he is horrible. Whatever they're teaching him in the classroom, it's not translating to the field. And he has shown that he's not ready. He cannot be a part of the 53 or 54-man roster that they put together at the end of the season. There's no way, by the way he's played.
Wow. Well, I think he could be a reserve, but I agree about not being a starter. Right now, it just doesn't seem to be there. And one of the big things last year, everybody complained about not being able to throw the ball down the field. And it wasn't as much not having deep threats and Tannehill not having the ability to do so as it was him not having the time to do it. Right? Mm-hmm. So here we are. You're in a situation where your right tackle is a guy that, has struggled in pass pro, so you're not going to be able to do it this year unless you figure some things out. So I agree with you. It's really I don't know what's gone wrong as far as Ratings is concerned and why it's such a struggle, but you're 100% right. There were a couple pass rushes where Carl Nassib was able to, get some pressure, make Willis have to step up and into a sack on one occasion, then another time it was a hurry, and that's something that they're going to have to get together. And if it doesn't click for him soon, then yeah, I think Nicholas Petit-Frere will end up being a right tackle, or they better go get somebody else.
Yeah, he really did struggle, no question. Teron, great stuff as always. Let's go Mets, and we'll talk to you again. We'll see you on the field here in a couple of days. We'll be back at a training camp.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's go.
All right, Teron Davenport, always a great presence on our station. You can hear the podcast, Talking with TD. You hear him on all of our shows. He is presented by Craneworks and RentalWorks, your source for crane and equipment rental. Visit craneworks.com. We're going to build on the right tackle discussion that Derek just threw out there. He went pretty extreme in his evaluation of Dylan Radunz. And where is the rookie Nicholas Petit-Frere? Somebody's got to play right tackle, and where does that leave the depth as well? That's the other question. That might be the biggest question that the offense has right now. Stay tuned. We're coming back with more. We'll hit on it on Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 2:45.
Sanders for the touchdown, 48 yards.
Former NFL wide receiver Chris Sanders joins Stillman and Company to give his thoughts on all things Titans and NFL. Fueled by Parman Energy, now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
If you missed the latest from Robbie and Rex Road.
Darn it. Where the heck is that? Anyway, yeah. I did have a good conversation with Stonehouse. I went up to him, and he was on his phone, and I was like, looking at Twitter. He's like, yeah. Because of course.
He really was?
Oh, yeah. You know, you have a night like that, and you are going to be checking out what people are saying about you on Twitter. Yeah, we had a good conversation. None of you can hear it right now. I apologize.
We'll look forward to that coming up a little bit later in the show. There is one thing, Joe, that we've not gotten to yet that I'm really interested in getting your thoughts on. And I'm going to come out with a Monday morning hot take for you. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
Week 1 against the Giants, Nicholas Petit-Frere will be starting at right tackle for the Titans.
Tune in Robbie and Rex with Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10 on ESPN, 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
People who call QC Kinetics are pretty much fed up with joint pain.
It's to the point where it's affecting their quality of life. Maybe they can't pick up their grandchildren anymore, or golf, or play tennis, or walk with their friends.
Dr. Justin Garzone, medical director at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine, giving lasting joint pain relief with no drugs, no steroids, and no surgery.
The great thing about our therapies, there isn't any downtime. There's no side effects, so patients can get our treatment and continue on with their day-to-day life.
And Dr. Garzone speaks from experience. He had excruciating back pain and got relief at a QC Kinetics clinic.
Over a very short period of time, the pain went away completely, and I've had absolutely no symptoms or pain since my treatment.
Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, RentalWorks, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Craneworks is ready to help lift Nashville. As the Southeast's most trusted name in crane and equipment rental for over 30 years, Craneworks offers certified operators to make sure the job is done right. RentalWorks has a diverse fleet of equipment to assist in any project, big or small. From forklifts to carry deck cranes, they have it all. When it's time for your next lift, machinery moving, or rigging project, call Craneworks. Visit craneworks.com.
Cromwell Media, who owns this radio station, is observing a significant milestone this month. Our founder, Bud Walters, is celebrating his 50th year as president. Joining Bud with anniversaries of their own are Max Hurst and Scott Meyer with 102.5, 106.3 The Game, and Ryan Burke in our sales department is also celebrating 1 year with us. From 1 year to 50 years, Cromwell Media is a great place to work, and you're invited to join us. Send an email to together@cromwellmedia.com and tell us about yourself. That's together@cromwellmedia.com.
I love this show.
Never miss a moment of the show.
Okay, all right, okay.
Subscribe to the Chase, Willy, and D-Mase podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Back here on Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5 The Game. And remember, you can always Watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. Every day, our video streaming is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Issues at right tackle for the Titans. We'll get to that in a moment, but D-Mase, there is breaking news, kinda. This is not going to surprise really anybody, I don't think, but the Panthers have named Baker Mayfield their starter for Week 1, which had been trending for the last couple of weeks. Whatever thoughts that people had that maybe Sam Darnold could hold him off, that went out the window pretty quick.
I mean, if you thought anybody that actually thought that Sam Darnold was going to get the starting spot over Baker Mayfield, you don't know football, or you just hate Baker Mayfield. Because, again...
Oh, you were arguing just because you were bored in the summer.
Exactly. And, he's just getting there. He's not, this kid, he's going to pick up on the offense just fine. He'll be fine. Listen, Baker is a really good quarterback in this league, regardless if you hate him or not. He's a really good quarterback in this league. Cleveland was nothing before Baker Mayfield got there, okay? And he made them relevant. This guy's a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, this kid can play. You may not like his attitude, but the kid can play. Flat out.
Okay. And that's an interesting division, too, especially when you get beyond the Bucs. It's
Who
kind
has
of
their own problems now.
Yeah, they just lost another lineman. Unfortunately, Stinney, if you were watching the Titans game, you might have seen the injury. Nothing dirty or anything like that, but he tore a couple ligaments in his knee. So that's 2 offensive linemen that the Bucs have lost for the season. That is tough to overcome for sure. Now, speaking of offensive linemen, let's get to what you said a minute ago to Tehran. You are getting to the point where you don't believe Dylan Radins, and you've said this before, that you were worried early in camp that it wasn't an issue of, hey, he just hasn't gotten there yet. You're worried that this is one of those things where he just flat out can't play. He's not an NFL player.
Mm-hmm.
And so this didn't help at all on Sunday or Saturday, because even a regular observer, I put myself as a trained football observer, but not a guy with an insight to the game. But when you watch time after time, his man consistently beat him in pass protection one time after another. His back was turned the wrong way. He just was getting beat badly over and over.
It was hard to watch because I watched the game just watching it as a fan and just picking out some things. But then I wanted to go back and watch it again. I watched it yesterday again. And I wanted to specifically watch Nicholas Petit-Frere and Dylan Radins, both of them. I wanted to see how they played together. And when Nicholas was in at first, Radins wasn't in at the, I think, left tackle. But eventually they put both of them in at the same time. And I was surprised, too, that Taylor was in there for a while.
Yeah,
too.
they let Lewan play a couple of series, and they started Petit-Frere at the right tackle. Then when Lewan rotated out, they moved Petit-Frere to left tackle, and that's when they put Radins in at right tackle.
Yeah, and I watched both of them. I just went back and watched, especially the first half when Willis was in the game. And Nicholas Petit-Frere, third-round pick. This kid can play. It's going to take him a minute to come on, but you see it in him. Like, he got dog in him. You know he can. He just need to get some things, need to figure the NFL out, some more coaching. But this kid got dog in him. He can play. Dylan Radins, he doesn't have dog in him. It's like he was out there sometimes trying to figure out what to do. Guys were going around him. It wasn't like these defensive linemen were making like these elaborate moves to get around them. It was just one step, boom, boom, and go. Again, whatever they're teaching him in the classroom is not translating to the field. This guy, he's not. He shouldn't, especially because they're going to give him another opportunity this third game. If he doesn't make up for it, if he plays the same way he played this past game, there's not a place for him on this team.
Not even as a backup.
Not even as a backup.
Okay.
Because you're only one guy away from him being your left tackle or right tackle. Because I truly believe that Nicholas Petit-Frere will probably end up possibly starting, and they'll do a lot to protect a young guy. But Dylan Radins, if he has to come into the game, it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
If he has to come into the game, you better double team his side. You better put somebody over there to help him, because Ryan Tannehill will get knocked upside the head 2 or 3 times a game with him in there. He's not ready. He shouldn't make this roster. I don't care what anybody says.
Well, see,
he shouldn't make. Now, I'm not saying he won't make another roster, but the way the Titans are trending, where they're going, where they hope to go with the players that they have, he shouldn't make this team.
Okay, couple of factors here. Does it help Radins that they don't appear to have a lot of depth? Jamarco Jones, who they brought in to compete for one of these spots, but be sort of that utility guy, we haven't really seen him much because he got hurt, and he hasn't been in there. So he's in the mix here somewhere as at least a backup. But you really need those extra guys. I don't see a lot of them, whereas last year they had Brewer that you could put in there. Now you're counting on Brewer pretty much to be the starter at left guard, which it looks like he's got that fairly solidified. So when you're saying Radins shouldn't be on the roster, I think I would agree with you 100% if they had some more depth sitting there, but I don't see much depth. So he doesn't cost that much against the cap. So I feel like that's kind of extreme to say he won't be on the roster, but I see what you're saying, because I keep going back to something you suspected before, and I've seen this in my day in different sports. When a young player is playing and he's drafted at a certain level, you get benefit of the doubt. You're saying, hey, he'll come around. We drafted him in the second round. I think he can get there. This is what we saw in him when he was in college. He can get there. But there's also this sense that with the weeks that go by, when you don't see the progress, somebody's challenging you and saying, hey, look, I know you drafted him in the second round, but if he weren't drafted in the second round, would he still be here? And the answer might not be what you want to hear. He just may not be good enough.
And Willie, we've worked together long enough. It's like I'm not, because I understand what it takes.
Yeah, and you want to see this guy succeed.
And I want to see him succeed. So it's not like I don't get on here and just bash guys just to be bashing guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know, listen, this league's hard, man. It is. But if I'm watching, and I'm watching the same film that the coaches are watching and your counterparts are watching, if I'm looking at and I'm seeing what I saw yesterday, and I'm seeing some of the things in practice, and I'm seeing you couldn't even, get on the field last year as a second-round pick, in my mind, I'm thinking, like, this guy's he can't cut it for us. Yes, we drafted him in the second round, but we just got rid of a first rounder redrafted in Washington. Was it Washington? The offensive tackle?
Oh, Isaiah Wilson.
Wilson.
Good grief. Yeah.
We just got rid of Wilson. So we should get rid of you too, because you haven't proven that what we're teaching you is translating. You're doing the things that we're asking you in the classroom to do. You're doing it on the field. You're not. You're just not physically. You're not physically equipped at this particular time to be on our team.
Now, when you
say that you won't be.
Well, that's the question: is do you
long
keep him around?
How long do we hold on to him?
That's the question: is would you keep him another year as a sort of developmental guy?
No, Willie, you said it right. If this is a 7th-round pick or a 5th-round pick, he's not here. I'm telling you that he's not here because he hasn't proven that he's capable of winning one of those spots on the offensive line. We drafted a guy this year that's better than you already. And if we had to go game one, we would go with him instead of you.
So is offensive line the biggest concern for you right now?
It has to be. You got 3 guys in that offensive line right now, I believe. Well, 2. Let's say Taylor and Ben Jones. Those are 2 guys you can count on. Those are 2 guys that are going to be there for you.
But you wouldn't put Nate Davis in there?
Nate Davis is another, yes.
Yeah.
So those 3 guys, But those other 2, you're hoping. Don't be surprised if there's a move made by John Robinson before the season starts.
Find another guy.
To find another guy. Because you still, even if Fair does end up being your starter, you still need a veteran guy. You still need somebody just in case he gets hurt or something. You still need a guy.
But you like him though.
Oh, I like him
as a prospect.
Yes, I like him. From what I've seen, he has all the physical tools, and you see that once he gets some more experience, he's going to be all right. You don't see that from Dylan Ratings. You just don't. And I don't care what nobody tells me. If I watch the film again next week and this shows up again, if he's not cut, I'm like, what's going on? Like, are you just keeping him because he was a second-round pick? I don't know.
So
and
you've
again,
seen enough.
I want
He's
this
just
kid,
not an NFL
exactly,
lineman.
I want this kid to be able to say, hey, listen, I played in the NFL. I want him to go out there and do what he needs to do. But it comes a point in time, like, if you don't have the talent, you just don't have the talent to play at this level.
When we come back, we will switch gears. We'll talk quarterback. We'll talk Malik Willis, and we'll see what Derek thought about the good, the bad, the development of the young quarterback. Interesting guy. We'll tell you about it when we come back. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 The Game.
Titans training camp is underway.
Talking Titans?
What wide receivers make the team?
Traylon Burks.
The physicality.
Robert Woods.
Route concepts and how to get open. Who starts on the offensive line?
It's a full-on right tackle battle.
What other storylines will stand out?
Malik Willis, some of the best he's looked in camp.
Titans training camp coverage is fueled by Parman Energy. Now hiring fuel drivers. Apply now at ParmanEnergy.com and by USA Hemp Store on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, folks, Joe Rexrode here, inviting you to kick off Week 1 with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You join today, you get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All you got to do is sign up with promo code Joe102 to get on the action. Then you turn game day into payday all season long. Future bets, $150. You know, I think I might locally look at the Titans over-under, for example, as a possibility. I think I might be going the over on that. Of course, you can do so many different things with games, too. You can go touchdowns, total yards, all kinds of game props. You can combine bets for a bigger payout with same-game parlay, all kinds of possibilities. Don't fumble this chance to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code Joe102. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is now withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
At Cordell & Cordell, we focus on representing men in domestic relations cases.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
We recognize that our clients are going through perhaps the toughest time they will ever go through. We understand that everything that's important to them is on the table. Their assets, the role in their children's lives. That's an immense responsibility that our clients entrust us with, and we take that very seriously. We've been trained to do that. We've helped thousands of clients before. And it's our hope that you'll choose to entrust us with what's most important to you.
The attorneys at Cordell & Cordell work to help men maximize their role in their children's lives. Contact the domestic litigation firm of Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Nashville area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 615-457-8700. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com. Offices in Nashville, Franklin, Murfreesboro, and Gallatin. Cordell & Cordell, 810 Crescent Center Drive, Suite 160, Franklin, Tennessee, 37067.
Hey, it's Big Joe on the go. Look, I get it. Nobody likes being in a car accident, but when that happens, make it easy on yourself and call Apple Collision Centers so you don't have to stress. They're locally owned with 3 convenient locations in O'Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Apple Collision Centers managers combined for 60-plus years experience, and they only recommend original equipment parts on your vehicle. So, if you're in need of a repair today or down the road, just head over to Apple Collision Centers. Stan and his team will take great care of you. Online, applecollisioncenters.com.
Hey guys, Jeremy here, General Manager at Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. We are the go-to spot in Nashville for the best old-fashioned, a nice relaxing cigar, and lots of high-end spirits and wine. Are cigars not your thing? No problem. We have the best ventilation system in the industry that provides a fresh, clean atmosphere for you and your friends. We are here to provide you a trendy, upscale experience in the heart of downtown. Check us out at 508 Church Street. Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. Luxury redefined.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willy, and D-Mase.
Somebody company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey Nashville, it's Max Kellerman, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
That, obviously that stood out was, we were able to rip a timing route in there to Nick early in the game, which is something that he didn't do last week. And we worked on it in practice, and it was cool to see him be able to hit that, and maybe you can kind of see how the whole process works, the play pass, the timing of it, and 21-yard gain. Other things that we still want to be able to work on. The operation, at the line of scrimmage, the command. I just think it's tough to run, talk to him about running out of the back of the pocket. And there's times where he's going to take off and make plays, and protection breaks down, and he's going to shrug guys off, and he did that. He found Dez, found his son. I don't want to see anybody get hurt, especially our quarterbacks. And just, you run out of the back of the pocket in this league, these guys are coming. So we'll continue to coach him and his pocket presence and being able to keep his eyes downfield. And, it's such a fine line, but just look at the beginning part of the game and the one timing pass that we needed to complete and wanted to see him do. He did it, so we at least made some progress there. And then we'll continue to work on some of the other stuff.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase from the Hillside Medical Game Studio. Remember, you can call or text us on our phone and text line, 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'd love to get your comments, questions for Derek Mason on the Titans. We'll try to get to them as much as we can. We do want to take a little time to talk about Malik Willis here. Very interesting stuff. I thought I wrote some notes down. Derek, I want to hit you with a couple of things that I saw, but the number one thing I took out of that for Mike Vrabel is one word, and that is command. There is certainly what you want to see from your quarterback when you know he understands everything is command. I love the makeup of Malik Willis, and you can see what he's going through right now, the extreme learning curve that he's under, going from Liberty and Auburn. It was interesting. He mentioned he had actually played in the Music City Bowl in the stadium, at Nissan Stadium, when he was still at Auburn. He said he got a couple of series. It was a total blowout. Remember, they blew out Purdue.
Yes.
He actually got in the game. I didn't realize that. So it was not his first time at Nissan Stadium, but he's got a lot that they're throwing at him right now. The coaches understand it. I love what they're doing with him, but I still stick to what I think is a reasonable goal, and that is I'd love to see him become the backup next year. That would be great progress, just because I see a lot of different things that he's struggling with right now, but I love how he's handling it. I love how he's going through it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's doing exactly what they're asking him to do. He's, incrementally getting better. Listen, you would like him to take these huge, giant steps, but that, hey, listen, this kid, he has all the physical tools, but it's going to take him a minute. As long as we, get him to, make steps forward every day, then that's a win for us and that's a win for him. If he starts taking steps back, then we need to reevaluate, him as a player or how we are coaching him. But I think, from, the first day of camp to now, I think he has made strides. Now, has he made strides enough that he is the backup, that you would consider him the backup quarterback? I don't think. I don't think he has.
I don't think so.
I don't think he has. But then you got to start playing these, the roster game.
Yeah, and we're going to get to that in the next segment, because I think it's a really interesting question. But let's focus. Here's one that I saw, just for example. I said to myself, okay, we know he can run. And that you can tell that they have tried to drive that into his head. We know you can run. We want to see you go through the progression, stick in that pocket as much as you can. The running will take care of itself, but don't look to run too quick. I see sometimes, too, there's an art, and Steve McNair was one of the best I ever saw at it, where he steps up in the pocket. He could run, but he's still thinking, I can hit the guy down the field, too. I see a little bit more Marcus Mariota, where once he makes the decision, he's putting his head down, and he's looking to run. He's not keeping his eyes up. And there's some times where I think he's got guys he can hit down the field if he can get to that.
Well,
are you seeing that?
Yeah, I don't think he truly trusts what he sees at this particular time. And that will come with more reps, more defenses you see, more time you have to prepare, moving forward. But I don't think he truly trusts what he sees. What he trusts is his ability to get outside the pocket and try to make a play that way. He doesn't trust completely at, okay, he may not be open right now, but you can throw him open. For instance, the play after, I think it's the play or two plays subsequently after he hit NWA on the first play of the game, the end route. Titans love that route for obviously they've thrown that route plenty of times to A.J. Brown, and he's gotten a lot of yak off of that of that play. Fake it, hit the guy in the middle of the field. So they went with that play because it's an easy throw. You read the defense and you let it rip. It's either there or it's not. Boom, he hits it. And I think it was 2 plays later, it might have been a deep crossing route. He faked the handoff, and he may have gotten flushed a little bit, but 2 things happened. One, he didn't trust what he saw. Second, and most importantly, he didn't throw Nick Westbrook-Akine open. He threw it to him instead of throwing it further to the sideline and allowing Nick to run to the ball to catch the ball. Had he thrown him open, that would have been a catch because it was the right read. He read everything perfectly. There was Nick Westbrook-Akine, and I think the safety might have been coming down, or the corner was running with him across the field. It was the perfect read, but now he has to throw him open instead of trying to throw the ball to him. I said that plenty of times about Marcus Mariota. Like, listen, Marcus, you got to throw the guy open in this league. You can't throw it to him or throw it when you think he's open. Throw the guy open and allow him to run and get the ball. That was a situation where I don't think he truly trusts what he saw. Had he trust what he saw, he would have threw it further toward the sideline and allowed NWA to go get the ball.
Also, it didn't help. We just talked about Radens. The pocket was collapsing.
Exactly.
A lot of the pass plays that they ran, in fairness to him. But what I wanted to see, I thought there were times where he put the head down and decided to run. Sometimes it was successful, but other times, as Mike Vrabel was pointing out, they're coming at you. You don't want to get hurt, but also they're corralling him, right? They're, depending on down and distance, a lot of the runs were not real successful runs, whereas when I slowed it down, I thought there were a lot of check downs. So I wrote down, take the check down. And I heard him say that, I think, in the press conference after, that they're trying to stress, the little dump-off pass is there for you sometimes.
That's trusting what you see. If you don't see anyone open, trust that your outlet that he's there. He's right where he's supposed to be. He's a check down. He's a guy that allows you the ability to get the ball out of your hands and get some yardage without having to run the football. So again, you go back to, does he really trust what he's seeing on the field? And every young quarterback goes through it. It doesn't matter who you are. Every young quarterback goes to that period where they see it, they know it's there, but they don't quite trust it. Mm-hmm. He has to start trusting that if he sees the guy, throw it to a spot where he can run and get the ball. He had another one to Kyle Phillips on the sideline. If he steps into the throw, right read. But if he steps into the throw, it's a completion for about 15 yards.
Okay, that was the other thing I wrote down. Mechanics. Okay, let's take aside decision-making and quickness, because I think that's definitely something that's going to have to come with time. Seeing the game quick, seeing what's going to be there, knowing where everybody is, the presence, the command. But what about simply the mechanics of his throws? I thought there were some throws off the back foot, and he doesn't have a classic smooth release. Now, that doesn't mean that he can't be effective, but I see a little Vince Young sometimes with the sidearm. It's not a classic release with the mechanics. I wonder about accuracy long term. And the throw to Phillips is a good example where I thought it was a little bit not perfect timing, but it was off the back foot, and he didn't really finish the throw. Or if he steps into it and really drives it in there, I think he's got it. And that's a tough throw. That's from the near hash to the far sideline, right, on a 3rd and 9. So that's, you got to have a pretty good arm to make that throw.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I saw on that play, because that is a good play, and it shows you, the difference between a young quarterback and a quarterback with a little bit more experience. So I will give you my answer on the other side.
Okay, well, let's come back to that. And we'll also ask the question, where do we think he fits, Malik Willis? Can you see him on Sundays be the backup? Or do they have to have another plan? And where does Logan Woodside fit into this plan? Stay tuned. We're coming back with more of Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 The Game.
Hey everybody, Willy Donick here to tell you about Trivia Night for Stars. Think you're pretty smart? Well, come on out Wednesday, August 24th to Boom Bars East and test your trivia skills. I'll be your trivia master. We'll have sports questions, some non-sports questions, and some great prizes. It's brought to you by Nerdy Talk, and all proceeds support Stars and the hope, health, and connection of young people in our community. Register your team of no more than 4 and let the competition begin. Go to starsnashville.org to officially sign up. That's starsnashville.org. See you on August 24th at Boom Bars East.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Temperatures have begun to warm across the mid-state and will top out today in the mid-80s across the Cumberland Plateau and outside of Nashville, with the upper 80s across the metro areas, partly cloudy to mostly sunny. For Fox 17, I'm Code Red meteorologist Zach Covey.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Pro Football Hall of Famer and 3-time champion. Trust me, I know about joint pain.
Pro Football's all-time leading rusher Emmitt Smith talks about chronic joint pain and exciting new regenerative treatments from QC Kinetics.
I know what it's like to fight through pain, but now, you and I, we have help. QC Kinetics.
QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in advanced, all-natural regenerative medicine that can give you lasting relief with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Do you suffer with constant pain from arthritis or injury? Pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, or lower back? Don't assume steroids, pain meds, and surgery are your only options. Regenerative, restorative, natural solutions are now available.
Don't let your joint pain keep you from doing the things you love.
Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation and learn how regenerative medicine can repair and restore damaged joint tissue.
Make the call to QC Kinetics. Tell them Emmitt Smith sent you.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Chevrolet Buick GMC. We all know that you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day. So with that in mind, we're discounting all of our white vehicles. Well, maybe we should just discount the lighter colors that are close to white too, and maybe the red and blue ones since we celebrate this in America. Okay, fine. I'll discount all the cars, starting right now. On top of that, we want to celebrate all of your hard work with the most American lunch we can think of. Hot dogs. Hot dogs all day on Labor Day. So come kick your feet up, get a new car of any color, and enjoy a hot dog. You can even shop online for a new car with Newton FastPass. But you'll have to make your own hot dogs that way. Sorry. Visit NewtonChevroletBuickGMC.com to learn more.
Why choose proven quality sleep from Sleep Number? Because our Sleep Number 360 smart bed is really smart. It senses your movement and automatically adjusts to help keep you both comfortable. Plus, it's temperature balancing so you stay cool. It's even smart enough to know exactly how long, how well, and when you slept. Our smart sleepers get 28 minutes more restful sleep per night. Sleep Number takes care of the science. All you have to do is sleep. Don't miss our weekend special where all smart beds are on sale. Save 50% on the Sleep Number 360 limited edition smart bed, plus free delivery when you add a base. Ends Monday. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
Jared Stillman.
This is a team that the entire city is losing their minds over.
Caroline Fenton.
It's one of the youngest teams in the league. They don't have a single player over the age of 30.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase back at you here. We're talking Titans, and we'll continue to do so throughout the afternoon. One little note, the Little League World Series in Williamsport right now in a weather delay. The last couple of days, they've had some rain over in Williamsport. We'll see if that affects the start time of the Nolensville team from our area. They are in action this afternoon at 2 o'clock in the winner's bracket. They've done really well so far, but that game's scheduled to start at 2 o'clock. We'll see if they can stay on time. In the meantime, Derek Mason here with you, talking about Malik Willis. We are breaking down his performance on Saturday, what we like, what he needs to work on. And, Derek, before the break, we were talking about his mechanics, his release, and what you see there.
Yeah, I still see a guy that is not quite sure with what, again, it goes back to trust. He doesn't trust, what's around him. I don't think he has, a lot of trust that he's going to be able to drop back or get the ball and him have time to throw it. Because there are several occasions where he drops back and he has happy feet. And, you have happy feet. Why? Because it's either, you're just moving too fast, you just need to slow it down, or the offensive line hasn't given you any protection. So you're always looking to run or looking to get outside the pocket because I only have like a second and a half, 2 seconds to throw the ball, so I can't really get into a rhythm. I can't get into my mechanics. I can't work my mechanics. That may be a part of the problem. But then a lot of young guys, I think, trust their arm a little bit too much, whereas they figure, we're so used to seeing, Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, make these crazy throws where they're just using their arms and there's no, they're not stepping into the throw. But we don't say anything about those guys because those guys have won Super Bowls, been MVPs. Right. So they can do it. There's a different set of rules for those guys. But for Malik Willis, young quarterbacks sometimes, they believe so much in their arm that they lose sight of their mechanics. Again, going back to the Kyle Phillips throw on the sideline. Good read. You were looking at the right person, but you didn't step into the throw. Now, you probably didn't step into the throw because you don't trust what's going on around you. You don't want, somebody to come at you at your lower legs, or you don't want, as I'm stepping into it, a big defensive lineman come and hit me. So he has to understand that, and I believe he will, as he continues to mature in his game. You have to work your mechanics. You have to. There may be a situation where, you can just use your arm and because of the strength of it, you can throw it certain places, but you're not there yet. You got to work those mechanics and make sure you're following through, stepping through so you can get enough arm strength and enough strength to get the ball, especially if you're on the right side, right hash, and you're trying to throw it all the way back to the left side.
We're holding him to a very high standard because we got him under the microscope, right? We're seeing – it's like when you turn the fluorescent light on and you're in the mirror, right? And maybe you in the dim light, you thought you looked all right. Then all of a sudden in the fluorescent, like, whoa, man. Golly, I didn't see that. That looked terrible.
Willie, don't tell me you have many of those, man. Don't tell me that.
I had
a few.
You got to self-evaluate every now and then. But, we're really scrutinizing every move he makes. And I think he's handling himself in that atmosphere really, really well. I like his makeup. You can tell he's coachable. He wants to learn. He knows he's got a ways to go. But that being said, we're talking about all of these things he's got to work on. Mm-hmm. I'm first of all, I'm very thankful he's not the first-round pick. A lot of people thought he could be picked in the first round. But as a third-round pick, it takes some of the heat off of when he's going to actually get in a game. So that being said, can you put him in as the backup quarterback right now? Even if you're saying, look, it's only for this week, if he had to finish the game, could we put him in there? Or is he just not there yet? Because then you could evaluate. For example, let's say you go into a game, Ryan Tannehill plays. He gets banged up in the third quarter. Willis has to come in to finish the game. But then after that game's over, you say, all right, now it's really time to decide who is going to be our starter next week. Is Willis the starter next week, or is Woodside in a scenario where maybe he's on the practice squad? He's the guy because he maybe has a better understanding of everything that would be the better play. Or is option C, we got to be checking the waiver wire. For example, the Vikings just acquired Nick Mullins from the Raiders to be the backup. I mean, there's always Sam Darnold, who knows? Maybe he'll be released and be out on the street somewhere. I don't know what's out there on the street, but as I look at Willis's development, I continue to be very underwhelmed with Logan Woodside, other than, look, he understands what it is he's supposed to be doing there, but I look at his tools and I say, what does he do well? I don't see much. So they're in a dilemma there. Like, what are they going to do with the backup situation?
Well, Logan Woodside has thrown 3 interceptions in 2 games, okay? He looks, for some reason, he looks a little jittery. I don't know why. He knows the offense. You know that. He does give you sort of this up-tempo style of play that you can play with him because he knows the offense. But, there was a few throws in there that you just scratch your head like, dude, you can't make those throws. You're not a rookie anymore. You understand this league. You can't make those throws. And he tried to make them and come up with interceptions. But I don't know, because here's the dilemma that the Titans are in is, Willis, I don't think is ready if he's the backup quarterback. If Ryan Tannehill goes down week 2, week 3, I don't think Willis is ready to then step in.
Yeah, let's just say for 2 games or 3 games.
I still don't think he's ready to step in.
I don't think so either.
Now you got to make a decision. If he's not ready, and I'm not saying he won't be ready eventually, but if they had to go and say, hey, listen, this is what our situation is. We need our backup quarterback, and we're going to not have Ryan Tannehill for 3 games, and these are critical 3 games. Malik Willis is not our backup. He can't be. He's not ready to be the backup. You're setting this guy up for failure unless you're going to run the ball 40 times and throw it 15 and make it to where it's a 1-read game or a 2-read game for him. Then, yes, you can kind of, you can help him out in that aspect. But defenses are going to force you. If he is the quarterback, defenses are going to force you to do other things. They're going to force you to – he's going to have to be more than a 1-read or a 2-read guy because defense is going to force him to be that. So with that being said, I don't think he's ready. But I don't think Woodside is ready either.
That's the question.
So what do you do as a team? Do you keep all 3 of them? Do you put one of them on the practice squad? Because if you put Willis on the practice squad, somebody's getting him.
Right. That can't happen.
You can't put him
has
on
to be on the roster.
Willis is on the active roster. If you put Woodside on the practice squad, I don't think nobody's going out there to get him.
I can't see why you would want you could take him. The only thing they keep falling back on with Woodside is he's been there.
He's been.
Right?
He knows the offense.
They must believe in him to some degree, or else he wouldn't have made it this far. He's been on the roster for a long time.
But with his play, he hasn't shown that he's gotten any better.
Yeah, I don't see a strength that you lean on and say, okay, if Woodside's in the game, this is what he does well. I guess I've always had that question, but I have it even more now than I did. So I wonder if they still feel the same way about him as they did last year and the year before.
Well, if they don't believe that Malik Willis,
because I've thought about that, and I don't know all of the ins and outs on how much money they have available, but Logan Woodside, one of the things he has going for him is he's super cheap, right? He's $800,000 or whatever it is. He's just above the league minimum. He's about as low budget a backup quarterback as there is, right?
Yeah.
They just haven't invested in that position, and to their credit, to Tannehill's credit, they haven't needed to go there. But Malik Willis is there now, so there's a roster spot. There's also the budget you're putting in there for a backup quarterback. How would you create the budget for the backup? Who would that backup be? We'll hit that on the other side. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 The Game.
You watch The Game. We talk the game.
You can't just pick up one guy and be competitive in the playoffs.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and The Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
When Smashville wants to rock. We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Chris Sanders is with us. No Tom Brady, no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin, no Russell Gage for the Buccaneers. But the defense dominated practice today.
Yeah.
How much can you take away from that, and how much do we have to write it off because of who Tampa had out there?
I mean, regardless, they're still professional football players, and there's still some good players out there. But it just shows you that this defense, the Tennessee Titans defense, with that front and the back end with McCrary and those other guys playing well, this can be one of the best, defenses that we've seen. I'm not saying, overall for the Tennessee Titans, but probably in the league. So, what they're doing, guys are communicating. Byard's a leader. You got Jeffrey Simmons as a leader out there. You got Dupree. You got Autry. You got all these guys that are out there that are leading and making plays. This can be a dominant defense, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the regular season.
Tune in Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6.
on ESPN
102.5 The Game and The Game Nashville app.
Tools of the Game brought to you by Northern Tool and Equipment's Sidewalk Sale. This Thursday through Sunday, stop in and save up to 60% on hundreds of the best-selling tools and equipment at Northern Tool and Equipment. Visit northerntool.com to find store locations near you.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robbie and Rex Road, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase.
Stillman and Company.
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game 7. Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
a Cromwell Media Station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase McCabe, Willie Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee.
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
This is a new level of geek you got going on here.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase rolling on this Monday as we break down a lot of Titans issues as they move forward in the preseason. One game left, and that is Saturday evening against the Cardinals. And then the final cuts and the countdown to the regular season. We're actually in a game week in college football. There's actually games coming up on Saturday. Gotta love that.
Man, it's coming up already.
We're here. See, that's what the advantage of taking. See, I'm a big believer. You take the vacation later in the summer. So when you get to the other side, you're really gung ho because you're almost there. The dog days of summer are almost over.
Oh, man.
School's back in and all that stuff. This is fun. This is good stuff. So Willie Donick and Derek Mason here with you today. A little piece of news that has come out. Some of you might have seen that low block that Kayvon Thibodeau
that wasn't good.
got of the Giants, first round pick, really talented player. Fortunately, a sprained MCL and nothing more. The ACL is okay, but it's going to be a few weeks before he gets back in there. But that looked like it could have been a lot worse there.
Why would you even do? I mean,
that was like the worst technique I've ever seen. The Bengals guy, who was that? What
you
was
gotta
he doing?
protect. You gotta protect. People on the field, whether they're on your team or not. Because the last thing you want to do is, take a cheap shot or, hit a guy and then you end his career. I mean, you can't do that. So hopefully, I mean, it's good that the kid will be okay and he'll be ready to go in a few weeks.
Let's get back to the discussion with the Titans because we're asking the question, if Ryan Tannehill were to go down, knock on wood, and this is, again, where he probably doesn't get enough credit because he did have a stage of his career earlier when he was with the Dolphins that he did get hurt from time to time, but he has been very durable so far. But in a scenario, let's go with this. A friend of mine has always subscribed to this adage, and I do think of this every time we talk about backup quarterbacks. If your starting quarterback goes out for the season, your season is screwed. That is the reality 9 times out of 10, unless you have a very special team or a very special backup. And in this day and age of the salary cap, it's hard to really have a great backup quarterback. We know the Titans are not in that spot. So let's go with the scenario of you've got to, A, finish a game without Tannehill, and B, you've got 1 or 2 games where, okay, the backup has to get you by. What is the best option? A, Malik Willis, B, Logan Woodside, or C, somebody who is on the street or is going to be on the street in the next couple of weeks? Like that, they have to be kicking this around in John Robinson's office right now.
Well, okay. Your scenarios, I mean, I wouldn't want to have to deal with any of them. I would want
right, we hope it doesn't ever happen.
It never comes.
But you have to be prepared.
But you have to be prepared. It's, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, or prepare for the best, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, something like that. But it's always one of those deals where it's better to have and not need and need and not have. So in this situation, it's, okay, if Ryan goes down 2 or 3 games, let's go with the first option, Malik Willis.
Okay, so
Malik Willis,
you're game planning.
Yeah,
you know where he is. We've just broken down everything. So how would you game plan?
He's not ready. He's just not. If I am the offensive coordinator, I am doing a lot of too tights. I'm handing the ball off a lot. I am making everything easy reads for him to get the ball out of his hand very quickly. I'm not putting him in a situation where, he has to, survey the field for more than 1 or 2 receivers, And unfortunately with him, it has to be, a half the field read because he's just not ready. Not to say he won't be ready, because I think he will. But a young quarterback like that getting thrust in that position, you got to condense the field for him. So people like Chig, Hooper, those guys they become very important to him. Derrick Henry, Haskins, those guys become very important for him. Why? Because they're shorter throws. They're not throws all the way down the field. They're, okay, I know where you're going to be. I'm going to throw it. You're going to catch it. Kyle Phillips, same way. I got to trust in Kyle Phillips because they're shorter routes. I can't give him anything where he has to sort of read the defense and try to figure it out.
So could you condense the playbook, play to his strengths,
but
maybe some runs?
It depends where in the season Ryan gets hurt and where are we at in regards to standings. Like if we got a 3-game stretch and it's Indy and 2 other teams in the AFC, then we up the creek without a paddle. Because if we lose 2 or 3 of those games, that could potentially put us out of the playoffs.
Yes.
But if we are in a position where, okay, we got a 2-game lead, 2-3-game lead on say the Colts or anybody else, okay, now I can put him in a position and we can condense everything for him,
This is a good thing you're asking too, because my question of, all right, you've got to back up for 1 game. Malik Willis in week 4 may not be what Malik Willis will be in week 12 or 13 for 1 game. Maybe he can handle a lot more, and he's ready to get you by for a game at that stage of the season.
Yeah.
Fair to say?
Yeah.
Because right now I think we're all saying, hey, look, he's got a long way to go.
He does. And you just don't want to have to put that quarterback in that position where these are must-wins. Listen, every game is a must-win in the NFL. But
we got to go into the assumption it's going to be a dogfight with the Colts to win this division.
But if you have a 2-game lead on the Indianapolis Colts, then you got a little wiggle room for Ryan to come back. Say if he misses a game or 2, you got a little wiggle room to play with. Okay?
Right. You're saying rather than play him at 50% or something like that.
Absolutely. So I can deal with that. I can go with that. Woodside, on the other hand, I just don't think.
Okay, so now we go to scenario B. Woodside is your starting quarterback.
It's almost the same deal. You don't want him to have to play no more than, a game or two. It's the same situation with Willis. Hopefully we're in a position where we have a lead on India or any other team, a 2-game lead on these teams, and we can afford to have him as our quarterback and condense everything down. Because even with Woodside, you don't want to open up the playbook. He can't manage a team. He just can't.
You're saying just physically?
Yeah, physically from a quarterback
Let's
position.
go under the assumption that he understands the offense. He should be able to know the progressions. He knows the personnel. But you're saying physically,
I just don't
it
think
still restricts what you can do.
He still restricts what you can do as an offense.
Okay.
He just does. I mean, prime example. Just look at the preseason.
Okay, so what you're saying is, do you think that Woodside is that much of an upgrade? Let's just say, again, you got to get by for a game or two, because really, that's all you could ever ask.
But a game or two can be the difference between
so who
a
gives you
number
a better
one seed and out of the playoffs.
So you've got the roster thing too, because Willis is going to be on the roster. So you're keeping a third guy to keep Woodside in there. So is Woodside that much of an upgrade, at least in the first half of the season, to keep him around as a backup?
And here's why. I think Malik Willis gives you the ability to do other things in the game that Woodside can't.
Okay.
He can roll out and throw the ball rolling out. He can do the whole
read option.
The read options. And he can, if everything breaks down, he can get outside the pocket and make plays for you. So he gives you an added dimension that, Logan is not going to give you, Logan Woodside. He almost gives you the same thing similar to Ryan, that if everything breaks down in the pocket, Ryan is athletic enough, fast enough, physical enough to get outside the pocket and run and make yardage that way, or get outside the pocket and throw the football down the field. I don't think Woodside can do any of those things. Malik Willis has shown, because he's gotten out of the pocket a lot in the preseason, he's shown he can get outside the pocket and throw the football. He's shown he can run for first downs.
And so that has me asking, how has Woodside made it this far? Because it's not like he's just trying out now. He's been here for a long time. There's got to be something they like about him. All right, so let's put that aside before this break, and I want to get you to answer door number 3.
Okay.
Door number 3 is, okay, we got to go get another guy. I don't know who's going to be out there. Maybe Sam Darnold's out there. Right now, I mean, I don't know that you could go with the investment salary cap-wise with a guy like Garoppolo, who right now the 49ers say they're keeping. But there always seem to be 4 or 5 guys out there where you say, guys at least played a little bit. How hard would it – is that a better option, or would you rather just go – again, we're talking about 1 or 2 games. We're not talking about the rest of the season kind of thing. So door number 3, an option for you or no?
I don't think door number 3 can be an option if you're only thinking 2 or 3 games. Because if door number 3 is only an option if it's more than 3 games. If it's like 6, 7 games, 8 games, like a half a season. Then door number 3 becomes a viable option for you. But door number 3 doesn't become an option if it's only 2 games. You figure, okay, I don't, Malik Willis may not be ready to start, but I can do some things as the offensive coordinator to help him out, to limit. I can give him a limited package, and guys, we got to understand, we got to help this guy out. We got to do everything. If you're supposed to be somewhere, be there. Catch the ball. Get the block. Do all those. We got to do extra because we got this rookie behind us for 2 games. We can manage that. But I don't think you then bring in a veteran guy for only 2 games because you got to cut one of those quarterbacks. You're not cutting Malik. You would have to cut Woodside.
See, that's the thing. Is door number 3 better than Woodside? That's what the question has to be for John Robinson.
I think the Titans are like, no, because, again, if it's not more than 3 games, we're not going to do it. If it's not more than 2 games,
but you have to make that decision at the end of camp, probably.
Unless you're in a situation that Indianapolis was in, where they had to win the last 2 games of the season, 3 games of the season, and they still didn't do it. They didn't win the last game of the season, get in the playoffs against Jacksonville. If Ryan Tannehill goes down with those 3 games left, then you got to make a decision. Because if we got to win all 3 of these games, do you think we can win them with Malik Willis, or do we have to bring in someone else?
Interesting things that have to have the wheels turning as we watch each practice and get ready for the roster. The other thing that I don't know well enough is how they see the roster if they're keeping 3 quarterbacks, or do they dare try to slide Logan Woodside through the waivers? In other words, cut him, have everybody have a chance to pick him up. Nobody picks him up. You put him on the practice squad and elevate him from there if you need him. And that gives you that extra roster spot for somebody. Remember, you have more room on that practice squad than you used to back in the day. So there's a little more roster flexibility than you had pre-COVID. All right, when we come back, I want to get to the punter question, because that's another thing that a lot of people are wondering about. And can Brett Kern hold on to the job for, a 14th year? I mean, he's been an incredible punter. I'm pulling incredible punter. All right, stay tuned. We're coming back with more. We'll also have some Titans training camp trivia this hour, so make sure you stay tuned for that. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 The Game.
If you're on the road between downtown Nashville,
They're still in good shape to make the playoffs.
and I-840,
Players make it clear they don't want to be somewhere anymore.
there's a new way to hear all your favorite shows and sports programming on 102.5 The Game.
And he has added players that do fit.
What I was worried about is that they were still just going to keep the goal.
It's 106.3 FM.
Think about all the good Titans teams. This is very much so a run-first offense.
Now you have 2 choices to hear Nashville's best sports talk. Check out 106.3 now and add it as a favorite.
Nothing makes one feel better than the ability to give to someone in need. You have the power to give the most important gift of all, the gift of life, with a donation of your blood. Supplies are desperately low in our area, and your help is needed. Blood Assurance is a nonprofit community blood center that supplies our Middle Tennessee area hospitals. Please find it in your heart to donate. Be someone's hero today. Go to bloodassurance.org to find a location or blood drive near you. That's bloodassurance.org. Give blood, give local. Save lives with Blood Assurance.
Lauren and Tony Dungy present Uncommon Influence, Saying Yes to a Purposeful Life book launch event, August 26th at Bethel World Outreach Church in Brentwood. NFL Hall of Famer and Super Bowl winning coach Tony Dungy, with a special performance by CeCe Winans, along with a conversation with Jimmy Miato, President and CEO of Compassion International. Don't miss Lauren and Tony Dungy, along with CeCe Winans, for the Uncommon Influence launch event, August 26th at Bethel World Outreach Church in Brentwood. For tickets, visit transparentproductions.com.
This is a relationship, just like your relationship. Dating and getting married is awesome and fun, but having been married for 24 years, I can tell you it only gets better.
Meet Ward Herbert, manager at Genesis Diamonds, talking about the importance of having a long-term marriage with your spouse and your jeweler.
What's in the DNA here is relationship building. How can we be a part of your love story forever? It's your engagement ring, it's your wedding band, it's your anniversaries, it's gifts for your children, it's being a Genesis customer for life.
Genesis Diamonds, where it's never about making a sale, it's about making a hero.
The greatest joy I get is helping you find your perfect ring, helping you find your perfect diamond, and having you walk out with a huge smile on your face because you know she's going to love it and it's going to be something that you can be proud of forever.
And Ward knows a thing or two about relationships. As a marriage counselor and an ordained minister, he can provide a little extra added value.
I did a wedding ceremony for one of our customers 2 months ago. He did not have a minister at the last minute, and I performed his wedding ceremony for him.
Genesis Diamonds, going above and beyond for every customer.
Now you may kiss the bride.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
This week's Nashville's Best Deal is Seafood Sensation. Often imitated but never duplicated, Seafood Sensation is Nashville's original seafood restaurant. Right now, you can get half off a $25 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals and enjoy some of your favorite seafood dishes, like their crab legs platter, grilled salmon, and more. That's Seafood Sensation, located at 2719 Jefferson Street near the TSU campus. Get half off a $25 gift card while they last at thegamenashville.com/deals.
It's bedtime at the home of SiriusXM, but Conan O'Brien is still awake.
Turns out you don't need a car to listen to SiriusXM. You can listen to the app anywhere, in your room, by the pool, at the
And
laundromat.
Brad Paisley just really needs his beauty sleep.
Conan, I just really need my beauty sleep. Maybe really expensive boat, like a yacht.
The waves could rock you gently to sleep.
Don't encourage him, guy.
Sorry. Night-night. Everything you want to hear lives here on SiriusXM. Get the SiriusXM app now.
It's on. It's happening. Remember, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter.
Get out of the way. I'm watching the game.
Presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Call or text us on our text line or our phone line. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase. Willie Donick and Derek Mason here with you. 615-737-1025. John texts us and says, Titans are looking to Mason Rudolph, Josh Dobbs, whoever doesn't get the job as the second quarterback or, backup quarterback, I guess, to Mitchell Trubisky in Pittsburgh, or Sam Darnold. Now, let's hit the Darnold thing because we looked into it a bit during the break, and you made an interesting point, Derek, that I hadn't thought of. I'm going by the baseball thing. If you've got a big tag, like Darnold's a first-round pick, so he makes a sizable salary. He's on the 5th year of his rookie contract, which isn't what it used to be for rookie quarterbacks, but it's still a pretty decent chunk of change. But I thought that when you release the guy like that, he's on the street, you pick him up for whatever you sign him for, the league minimum if you want. But that's not the case. He's got a cap number that is set because of the league rules at $18.8 million as a fully guaranteed base salary. So Carolina, they rolled the dice and traded it for him last year, and they are getting burned here. They're moving on to Baker Mayfield, as they said. But it's not as simple as, hey, just wait till they cut him, pick him up off the street for nothing. You'd still have to pay. So you'd have to make a trade, right?
You would have to essentially do what Cleveland did. Listen, everybody and their mother knew that eventually Cleveland was going to have to part ways
with Baker
Mayfield. It was, okay, if indeed they do, how much money are they willing to pay of Baker Mayfield's salary? Well, Cleveland had to take a chunk of that and have to pay it. In order to ship him off to Carolina. Well, Carolina's in the same boat now because if they want to ship off Sam Darnold, they're going to have to pay a portion of that salary. If they indeed, because no GM or owner, unless you're Cleveland, maybe, is going to pay, somebody that y'all got to release anyway. At least pay him the full amount, and he's guaranteed, $18 million?
Yep, 18.8.
As a GM, I'm like, no, I'm not paying all that.
No way.
You take half of it, and I pay the other half because he's not your starter, and you don't want to pay him $18 million to hold a clipboard. So,
see, all this to say, if you were thinking about Darnold, you might want to think again
I don't
because
think the Titans are
he's
willing to
too
do
expensive and he's not that good to where he would be taking up that much. I mean, because even if you did some salary cap magic and you traded and you knocked that number down, it's still going to be a lot higher. Remember, the best thing that Logan Woodside is, he is cheap. He is very, very cheap. So I am rethinking the Darnold thought that I had earlier today. That's not in there.
So maybe
what
one
about,
of these
the other guy
guys,
from
Rudolph
or Dobbs?
Dobbs played really well the other night. You don't know where that quarterback situation stands in Pittsburgh, but one of those guys are going to be gone. Maybe they try to trade one of them before having to cut the person, or maybe they just cut him. But if they do, then I think if you're the Tennessee Titans and you're not truly sold on, on Logan Woodside, or you don't believe, hey, Malik's just not ready right now, if indeed we had to put him in a game, then you may take a flyer and get one of these guys. But again, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think the Titans, I just don't think they can do that because I don't think they want to. One, I think they trust that from Ryan's past history with the Titans, he's going to be there for the full 17 games. They believe that. But they don't want to bring in another quarterback to then push Malik Willis back even further, I think if they believe he's their backup, I think they're going to keep him as the backup. And they're hoping and praying that they don't need him for more than a game or two.
Well, that's what you always have to hope.
So they don't want to bring in – I don't think they want to bring in another quarterback.
Okay, so now we got people on our text line that are becoming GMs, throwing some different things in there. We love that. So we have Dobbs in Cleveland. I forgot that he is now in Cleveland too. So he may be the backup to Brissett. Thank you, David, for pointing that out on our text line. But I'm just wondering who could be out there. So all of that to say, I think it looks more and more like they're going to stick with what they've got for the time being, unless you want to do the real daring move of send Woodside through the waiver process and stick him on the practice squad. Because we called it door number 3 earlier this hour. Finding somebody off the street, it's complicated. Also, you don't have a ton of money on the salary cap. And that brings us to what we wanted to discuss too, and that's the punter situation that a lot of people are buzzing about. So let's take the salaries aside. Number one, in a vacuum, would you still prefer Brett Kern to this rookie, Ryan Stonehouse?
I just trust Kern. I trust him. And obviously, there was a period where, he didn't punt as well. But, Kern has proven in his 14 going on 15 years of being in the NFL that he's one of the best punters. At one point they thought we figured he was the best player on the team. At one point, that's how bad the Titans were. But I think he's more than just. He's a valuable asset to your team. You and I talked about this off the air. Okay, if it's you backed up at your own 1 yard line, and you need a big punt.
And you're on the road. Weather's a little iffy.
Yeah, critical time. Who do you trust? I would rather have Kern out there. And I think every other guy would feel that much. Not to say they, if the young guy's out there, he's out there. But I think if you asked each one of them, they would probably say, hey, I would rather have Kern out there than anything.
So here is the next question, because I agree with you. All things considered, I heard Mike Vrabel say something interesting after the game. He said, I think that Brett Kern is punting better than he did last year, which lets you know that last year was not a great year for Brett because he got hurt. I think he was playing hurt some. He actually missed some games. But he has at least, that tells me he's shown some better signs of looking like himself out there. But he's not getting any younger. But here's the other thing. Number one, I think we all now believe that Stonehouse has been showing enough to where he's got some tools, right? We know about the leg, but we also know that as a punter, the big leg is only one aspect of it, right?
Yes.
There's really everything else. It's how do you do under the pressure of the big moment.
It's like a golfer.
And also, can you put the ball in the right spot? Can you get it inside the 10 when you've got to get it in there? And that's still the big question with him. He was kind of hit or miss. He did show you the one booming punt. I mean, that means something when you're backed up at your own 20 and he can bang it all the way down there. He's got a legit leg. But here is the thing to me. Is he close enough to where you consider he's going to make the league minimum and Brett Kern's salary, even though he reworked his contract, is still in the neighborhood of $2.7 million? Is it that, if it's close and you can save $2 million, that's worth considering.
Yeah, but everything can't be about money. It has to be about a feel. It has to be about who do I trust, regardless if I'm paying you league minimum or I'm paying you, $4 or $5 million. Who do I trust more?
It's like Eddie Harris and Rick Vaughn, right, from Major League. Do you want the rookie that's got the flaming heater, or do you want Eddie Harris who's got the craftiness?
Exactly. So you pick. It's like, which one do you want?
But remember that Rick Vaughn for the long haul is $700,000, and Eddie Harris is $2.7 million.
He's a big money guy.
Yeah.
So, but again, sometimes I think you can't make a decision based on who makes the most or who makes the least. That's
not solely, but it's got to come
but
in there.
It come in. It's like
with all of your other. For example, if you want
like
to put a little more money in the quarterback, or if you like a defensive back, or as we said before, an offensive lineman, which they desperately, if nothing else, they need depth there. So you got to be looking around. So where can I get a little extra change to throw at this budget? That's one you have to look at.
But okay, you're absolutely right. But so it's just I equate it to something simple. It's like, are you gonna? Yeah, you can buy those cheap shoes, and they tear your feet up, or you can buy a little bit more expensive shoes, and they feel good on your feet. You trust them, they look good, they're performing well, and those running shoes are performing well. Not only can you run in them, but you can wear them to work. You can wear them out. You can do it. Well, these cheap shoes, you ain't doing no running in them.
No, but okay, but Stonehouse though, you think most people think he is an NFL punter. Like
I'm not saying
he's got talent.
Listen, I'm not saying that he's not
cheap
in NFL.
shoes, but there's something there.
He has that one thing he can do right now. And that's punt the ball through the roof. And those cheap shoes got one thing they can do right now, and that's just walk. That's all. You can't run.
We don't know if he can run.
Exactly.
Well, he actually did run. He dropped the ball and he ran for the first.
You got a point there, Willie.
He did do that. All right, we're going to come back to this. All right, we got a little trivia coming up, and that's coming up at 12:45. So we're going to have a chance for you to win Jack Johnson tickets, which is coming up at Ascend Amphitheater. That's coming your way, Titans Training Camp Trivia. We're going to read some of your texts coming back. 737-1025. Some questions for D-Mase on this whole puzzle of the Titans situation. 615-737-1025. We'll take some more of your texts, your calls when we come back here on Chase, Willy, and D-Mase 1025 The Game.
Hey, Preds fans.
Running across to make the save is Sarah.
You can now hear Nashville's best sports talk.
The backhander, he scores!
And every Predators game on 106.3 FM.
Oh, that was a thing of beauty.
From downtown Nashville to Rutherford and Williamson counties.
Duchesne with the overtime winner.
Catch all the action on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey, folks, Joe Rexrode here letting you know that FanDuel wants you to be ready for game day when college football kicks off this week. Yes, folks, this week. Right now, new customers can get $150 in free bets guaranteed for week one. Just place a $5 bet. You can get $150 in free bets, win or lose. Obviously, locally, you got Vanderbilt at Hawaii Saturday, late night, little 9:30 start. I tell you what, if Vanderbilt's given less than a touchdown, I would give there. There's my little advice for you. More advice. Try a same-game parlay. Get in on the live betting. Big promotion with Odds Boost. You can go national championship futures. If you've been thinking about FanDuel, now's the perfect time to give it a shot. The app is easy to use, great odds. You get paid fast. It's safe. See for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Download the app. Sign up with promo code Joe102. Place a $5 bet to get $150 in free bets guaranteed to kick off the football season. Again, promo code Joe102. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager, only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued and non-withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbet.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
Business owners and professionals face special challenges in divorce court. In addition to everything else going on, they have to contend with allegations that they are earning more than they are, coupled with claims on their business or practice itself.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
An effective defense often hinges on sophisticated strategies relating to income tax projections, business valuations, spousal support claims. Clients with assets depend on their divorce lawyer's skills in these matters, and that's why it's so important to hire someone that has those skills.
Contact the domestic litigation firm of Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Nashville area attorneys, a partner men can count on. 615-457-8700. Online at CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com. Offices in Nashville, Franklin, Murfreesboro, and Gallatin. Cordell & Cordell, 810 Crescent Center Drive, Suite 160, Franklin, Tennessee, 37067.
Hey,
Hey Nashville, it's Jared, and there's a new go-to for home furnishing.
The summer clearance sale at Social Furniture, where all furniture is reduced in every department. Designer sofas from $5.99 and leather sofas from $7.99. Queen bedroom sets with queen bed, dresser, and mirror from $11.99. They come in solid, cherry, oak, and gray. Casual 5-piece dining room sets starting at $3.99, and formal dining sets starting at $5.99. Sealy, Stearns & Foster's, Simmons, Serta, and Purple Mattress, all sizes, on sale.
Social Furniture on the west side is independently home-owned furniture store in Nashville. Forget the big box stores. Shop local, shop social. They have all the best brand mattresses, sofas, recliners, love seats, sectionals, coffee tables, and more with no waiting. They will deliver it the same day. That's with everything at Social Furniture. Enjoy new furniture now with no waiting. Shop local, shop social. 5412 Charlotte Avenue near White Bridge Road, and tell them Jared Stillman sent you.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willy, and D-Mase.
Somebody Company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have two choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, Nashville, it's Mike Greenberg, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Back here on Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5 The Game, and we're bringing you Nashville's best coverage of Titans training camp, presented by Parman Energy, your one-stop petroleum solution. We'll be back out at Titans camp later this week. Chase McKay. You notice Chase conveniently waits to come back until we're out at Titans training camp. Wednesday, Thursday, that will be the return of the
Chase,
suit.
Of the suit.
So we'll be at full strength. Chase, Willy, and D-Mase. Over in Williamsport, the rain has gone away. They're back playing New York and Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania leading 7-1 elimination game. So this is a loser's bracket game. I hate to use the term losers. None of these kids are losers. They're doing a great job. It's been a great atmosphere, as always, in Williamsport. But the Nolensville boys are playing at 2 o'clock in the winner's bracket. And so it looks like they should be able to get that game in reasonably on time. So keep an eye on that. If you got some time this afternoon, you get a chance to check them out. Really good bunch of guys, for sure. Had a great talk with Engel Martin last week, the head coach of CPA, who missed the CPA opener to be there to watch his son Wright play in Williamsport. He talked about it was a tough decision, but he said some things are more important than football. And CPA, he turned the reins over to his assistant. CPA won their first game against Independence. So everything worked out. Nolensville won and CPA won. Yeah.
Some things are more important than football. Baseball.
Yeah, at least Williamsport baseball.
Especially when your kids are playing.
Yeah, Little League World Series. You don't get that chance every year. So we got a lot of texts on the line here. We're talking about the puzzle that John Robinson is in. You know, salary cap, we know they don't have a lot of extra money. We've identified offensive line as an area where, if nothing else, they're going to need some depth. So they've got to be on the lookout there. You're always looking for somebody here or there that could help you. Backup quarterback is another issue. A lot of people are weighing in on that. If you've got something, go ahead and text it to D-Mase. We'll get him to answer it, 615-737-1025. You can call in as well. But we're asking the question, and we'd love to hear your response on this. Is it close enough in the punting situation where the rookie, who, as Derek says, you know, cheap shoes, they're not broken in. You don't know exactly how they're going to look when they're all broken in. Do they start falling apart, or do they stick together and it's a good buy? Or the nice, experienced, worn shoes of Brett Kern, a little more expensive, but they've been around the block and they've been reliable for you.
You know what to expect.
$2.7 million versus $700,000 is the decision. Is the race close enough to where you would gamble, go with the rookie, save the extra money to address the roster somewhere else? That is the question. So we'd love to hear what some people have to say, in your opinion, on this, because that's where it's going. And Ron text line says, not all the time do you get what you pay for.
Yeah, you got a point.
But that is the old adage, right? You get what you pay for. And a veteran punter costs more.
Yeah.
But you also know that when the game's on the line and you're backed up, you've got a guy that's been there a million times before and has done the job for you.
Well, if you do go with the rookie punter, and because say if everything was even, and you say, well, I'm going with the rookie punter because he's cheaper. All right, cool. So that's the second move you've made to save money, and you're hoping and praying that it works out. First move was trading A.J. Brown away and hoping that that Traylon Burks can come in here for cheaper but still get almost the same production, if not the same production. So you're still hoping and wishing with that one. And now you're asking your rookie punter, not to say he can't do it, but you're asking your rookie punter, hey, listen, you're the guy now. We're keeping you, one, because, both of you guys were on the same plane, really, but you're making a little bit less. So we're going to go with you. So now you've made two moves based on finances.
But the fact is everybody's going to have to make decisions like that eventually with the salary cap.
Of course, but again, if it's not broken, why are we trying to fix it?
Okay, let's get to David in Arkansas, who has a good text here, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. He says, I'm on the fence. I love Kern, but do we want to be in a punter carousel in a year or two when Kern loses his stuff, when we have a guy right here in camp that presumably would be picked up by another team? Now, that's an assumption people are making. I don't know that that's 100% going to happen, but he does ask a question. At some point, Brett Kern is going to retire.
Yeah.
He clearly wants to punt for another year, but, are you looking at a punter that could be your punter for the next several years in Stonehouse? That's a question that I think is a legit question, beyond the salary cap.
No, it is. It's, we know we got Kern for another year at least. Now, he may punt for another 3 years. Who's to say? But we got this young guy, and this young guy looks good. So can we as an organization sort of weather the storm, whatever that storm is? It may not be a storm at all, or it may be a small one. Can we weather the storm of the young kicker kind of going through the NFL ups and downs, taking his lumps? Can we weather that, or can we deal with that as a team and move past it? And eventually this young kid is going to be the punter we thought he was. Are we in a position to do that as a team? That has to be, I think that has to be the question the Titans are asking themselves.
All right, as along the lines of you get what you pay for, Wes in Clarksville has this text, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I know the Titans are trying to buy a new stadium, but dang, $9.50 for a souvenir cup of soda is crazy. That's what it is now at the Titan Stadium, Nissan Stadium. Is that getting what you're paying for? $9.50 for the souvenir cup? Is that?
I don't know. I guess if you want to buy that cup, then that's up to you.
I do like having the cup. I've got a lot of Titans cups, but at the various stadiums I go to.
When is too many?
I got to tell you, the $9.50 is a little high. Do you get the? Here's my question: do you get the free refills for
every
the
time you take the
$9.50?
cup?
Like if you want to just guzzle Diet Coke or Mountain Dew, whatever it is your drink of choice is.
I need to check you for diabetes or something if you're doing that.
It could get dangerous.
Exactly.
Because you're also thinking, hey, I paid $9.50. I got to have like 3 of these to make it worthwhile.
I wouldn't suggest
pass
that.
it along. Okay, that's probably not a good idea.
But do you get refills with that $9.50? That's what you're saying.
That is a legit question. Yeah. I have partaken in some refills. I've justified the big cost, saying, okay, I'm going to take the cup back from Fenway Park or Camden Yards, or whatever. I still got a bunch of them in my house. Just to hey, remember we went to that stadium? I've got that.
So you're a hoarder.
It's a cheap
you
cup.
Just hoard
I mean,
cups,
the cup's not worth 30 cents, right? But it's a memento.
Exactly. So so our texter is right. I'm not paying $9 for a cup.
Okay, so look, this comes back to the same thing. If you're going to a game expecting to get cheap concessions, it's just not going to happen.
But I mean, okay, Kern and Stonehouse.
Stonehouse. And
I was about to call him Stonefoot.
Ron texts in and says, if we let the rookie go, he's going to get picked up quickly.
Of course, but you can't make your decisions based on, somebody might pick him up, somebody might pick him up. You can't. I don't know not many GMs make decisions based on just that. Like, we can't let him go because someone may pick him up. That's a part of it, but it can't be like the end-all, be-all. Like, you can let a lot of guys go and teams are going to pick them up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it goes back.
Well, what about the flip side? Would somebody automatically pick up Kern?
I think Kern would get a job.
You think somebody would pick
Kern
him up?
I think Kern is still a good enough kicker. He will get a job.
Okay. Mark in Paris texts in, we have a young team with some veterans. We're building a team with young players, so I'm going with Stonehouse. He's thinking sort of long-term with this.
And listen, when you read these texts on our text line, I'm not saying that they're wrong. You know, it's just what are the Titans thinking moving forward in regards to their kicking situation, their punter situation? Do they want to go another year or two with Kern, or are they saying, okay, we can go with the young guy and, you know, possibly save some money and he end up being a kicker for us for the next 15 years, you know? So I'm not saying that, no, you can't do away with Kern. I mean, you know, but to me, you know, if Kern is showing that he still has his stuff, then let's go.
Okay. So you say that's an interesting way to put it. If you feel like Kern is what he has been, then he's worth every penny of that 2.7 and you go with him. If there's regression, then maybe you reconsider.
Yeah, you reconsider.
Okay. Final text, unnamed texter says, how many roster spots do we continue to eat up based on, quote, what if? Okay. So in other words, the unknown.
Right. That's why that's why I said you need to cut ratings.
So sometimes okay.
That's why I say you need to cut ratings.
We're going to rotate back to some Titan stuff in the 1 o'clock hour. We are going to have some trivia. So if you want to jump in now, Titans training camp trivia is coming up. We've got Jack Johnson tickets for you, and that's coming up at Ascend Amphitheater. So a little throwback. Jack Johnson, if you like his style, he's got a lot of good songs. So that might be of interest to you. I'll throw the question out in just a moment, so stay tuned. And then we'll have our fantasy questions of the day at 1 o'clock as well. So we'll kick those around to D-Mase. We'll get his thoughts. We'll throw Nick in there as well and get his take as we get you ready for your fantasy drafts coming up. Stay tuned. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
A beautiful start to our new work week out there as temperatures top out this afternoon in the mid to upper 80s. Partly cloudy skies, no chance of rain this afternoon. We'll see gradually clearing skies through the evening. For Fox 17, I'm Code Red meteorologist Zach Covey.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Bill was tired of saying no to his kids because of his debilitating pain.
I have 3 kids that are 13 and under. Every day they're asking, Dad, can we take a bike ride? Dad, can we play ping pong? Unfortunately, in the past, I had to sadly say no quite often.
An accident left Bill with aching knees and shoulders. Even after 4 knee surgeries, Bill still felt constant pain in his knees. And then he discovered QC Kinetics and their natural biologic therapies.
I did it on the knee. It really became life-changing. I've had the same results with the shoulder.
QC Kinetics non-invasive regenerative treatments help restore damaged tissue and provided much-needed relief for knees, hips, shoulders, and backs. Right there in the office, no downtime. Bill's able to do just about anything these days.
Like taking my kids to Disney World and walking 10 miles a day at Disney, bike riding, taking a walk on the beach.
Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation today. Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. 615-249-4024.
Now's the time to make a message known. All working-class Tennesseans vote no on Amendment 1 this voting season. Right to work does not belong in the state constitution. Hardworking families deserve to have their needs addressed in today's economy. Visit TennesseeWorkerAlliance.org, paid for by the Nashville Building Trades.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Robbie Stanley.
To avoid non-contact injuries and not repeat last year.
Joe Rexrode.
Just wait until next year's national TV schedule comes out.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Back here on Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5 The Game. It's time for Titans training camp trivia. So line up on the phone lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, and see if you can answer today's question coming up. Hey, also, Silly Underdog Picks is coming back, and it's presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. We'll have another great season for you. It's your favorite game. You can sign up today at thegamenashville.com or the 102.5 The Game app. So make sure you do that. Look into that and get ready to play. College football is coming at you this week, so we've got some games coming up. So, yes, it's that time of year again. Silly Underdog Picks are back. Willie Donick and Derek Mason here for you. And here is today's question. Now, D-Mase, you remember this well.
Mm-hmm.
You know the answer, but you cannot win this prize.
Dang it.
You are not eligible.
Man.
The answer is not Dennis Rodman either. That's another thing. But here we go. We're talking punters today. Pretty good punter battle going there. And I think the more you hear Mike Vrabel talk about it, I think you definitely have to acknowledge, if you're Brett Kern, that this is a legit race, especially when you factor in the money involved. And Brett Kern is punting very well. I thought he had a good game on Saturday. That's all you can do at the end of the day if you're him, is do your job. Brett Kern has been the punter for a long time. And, of course, before him, you had Craig Hendrick for a long time. But today's question is, who was the punter before Craig Hendrick? In fact, we would label him the original punter of the Tennessee Oilers. It goes back pre-Titans. So in the history of the Titans, and except for injuries here and there, which did happen, we're talking about 20-some-odd years of Kern and Hendrick, there were other punters that punted. But prior to them, the regular punter, who was the regular starting punter before Craig Hendrick? 615-737-1025. If you get this answer correct, you will win tickets to see Jack Johnson at Ascend Amphitheater coming up. Beautiful nights, downtown Nashville. It's going to be a good scene. What do you got here, Nick?
I was going to say that this event is on Thursday night.
Oh, it's coming up Thursday night.
At Ascend, yes.
Okay, so it's right around the corner.
Yeah.
You got plans Thursday night if you can get this right.
There you go.
But do you know the punter who was teammates with Derek Mason on the original Tennessee Oilers? And this is going back to the Memphis time, right? He was
the
the
good old days.
Yeah, this is the Memphis
struggle.
Tennessee Oilers, right? Because Craig Hendrick came in. He was on the Tennessee Oilers at Vanderbilt. That was his first year, 1998, I believe. Floyd Reese signed him. So it was before that. Who was the punter? 737-1025. And I will say this. This was not a no-name punter. This was a guy that did a lot in the league.
Yeah.
Like when you were growing up.
Yeah, when I was
you were
growing
watching
up,
this guy punt.
When I was growing up, he made punting a thing to watch because of some of the things he did. Like you
talk about a strong leg.
Yeah, a strong leg, but he was a guy that he was the first guy I saw that timed his hang time.
Okay.
With his watch. Like he would kick, time it, and see how long it stayed in the air. That was the only guy that I ever seen do that. And since then, that's the only guy I've ever seen do that. In the game, I'm talking about in the game too. He would do it.
I thought, Ray Guy is always a guy that's considered a game changer, and that was a little bit earlier before this guy came in. But I thought this guy too was one of those.
He was
guys
one of those game changers
took it to another level.
Absolutely,
when he got in there. And no, you cannot text the answer in to our text line. A lot of people are texting the answer. No, that doesn't work. You've got to call in 615-737-1025. Do it. Nick, give me the thumbs up. Do we have the answer? Okay. We've got the answer, and it is
the late Reggie Roby.
Reggie Roby.
Yes.
Who came in, and I remember I moved to Florida in 1983, and I think that's right around the time he came into the league with Don Shula's Dolphins.
Yeah.
Who back down there in Orlando,
he was a Dolphins
Florida.
Kicker for a long
You got the
time.
Dolphins game every Sunday.
Yeah.
And that was Dan Marino. That was Don Shula. And Reggie Roby, he was a staple of those teams. He kicked for the Dolphins for a long, long time. He was at the end of his career, and the Oilers picked him up.
He came here, son. I think he ended up finishing, if I'm not mistaken, in Oakland. I think he might have
so
finished.
he kicked after after Craig Hendrick came in.
I think he might have finished his career in Oakland, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how long he spent in Oakland, but I think that's where he ended his career.
Okay, we'll have to look that up. But congratulations. We'll get the name from Nick here in a second on our winner for Titans Training Camp Trivia. We'll have more of that later this week. Speaking of that, if you are a trivia buff, Wednesday night is the night. You've heard the promotion. You've talked about this a lot. We've got over 20 teams now for trivia night to benefit Stars, which Derek is a big part of. My wife Erin works for Stars. We're going to have a blast at Boom Baz East on the east side on Wednesday night. You get a team of 4. It's $100, $2 beers, a free appetizer just for your donation. And we've got big prizes. We've got a big night in the suite for a Predators game. We've got a bunch of concerts you could pick from if your team wins. There's going to be prizes for the top 3 teams. There's going to be a night at the Opryland Hotel. So we've got a lot of prize packages, and so there'll be some really good things you can win. Plus, you'll be donating to a great cause. You can go to starsnashville.org to sign up for the event. And so it's going to be awesome. So I hope a lot of people come by. If you've enjoyed these trivia questions, get a squad together.
Yeah, because you can answer one of those questions like we just
You never know.
Reggie Roby.
It's going to be mostly sports. It's going to be mostly sports. There are going to be some movie, pop culture questions thrown in there too.
Y'all better know y'all baseball. I tell you that right now.
I am scouting the questions right now. We're working on the questions right now, and I will tell you there might be 1 or 2 baseball, but there will definitely be some local sports questions in there. Yeah,
he finished his career in San Fran.
He did. Okay,
out west. Yeah,
Reggie
finished
Roby.
his career in San Fran. He had a stint in Washington, a year, I believe, in Washington.
How many years did he kick? What was his first year in the league?
First year in the league was 83.
83.
He retired in 98 after the 98. His last season was 98.
That's good stuff. Reggie
15
Roby.
seasons. Yeah. Punted a long time. 2-time All-Pro. First team. All-Pro second team. 3-time Pro Bowler. He made the All-Decade team. I don't understand why this guy's not on Hall of Fame.
It's an interesting question. Now, think about this. 1998, Craig Hendrick comes in. From 1998 until current day, that's how many years? That is 2 punters.
Yeah.
Craig Hendrick and Brett Kern.
Yes.
That's a lot of years and only 2 punters.
Well, that's a good thing for an organization.
That is a good thing. Yeah. They've done well in that area.
Exactly.
All right, when we come back, we'll have our fantasy questions of the day. And we'll get you ready for your fantasy draft. We'll also, in the 1 o'clock hour, hit some other things about the Titans that we have not touched on yet. We have broken down a lot of things today. It's going to be an interesting week as they've got that final preseason game coming up on Saturday against Arizona.
By the way, Arizona reported today that J.J. Watt, who got injured last year, he will not play. He has a positive test. I think it's I assume it's COVID, something like that. He's going to have to sit out this last game. But it's always interesting when you watch a great player like that. If you're going to the game on Saturday, you say, I saw so-and-so play. But you will not see J.J. Watt on Saturday.
I don't think he was going to play anyway.
He may not have played anyway. That is the thing. Like Tom Brady, he wasn't even there, right? You didn't have a chance to even see him walking the sidelines with the clipboard or anything on Saturday.
I know Jared was just like heartbroken.
Jared was looking for some way to ask him a question. All right, final hour of the show coming up next on Chase, Willy, and D-Mase here on 102.5 The Game.
You watch the game.
Line to left, coming on Newstrom. Base hit, sounds win.
We talk the game.
But they knew he'd be really good. Well, if they don't make that move, they don't win those championships.
We are the game. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hello, I'm Joe Cordell of the domestic litigation firm Cordell & Cordell. Here are a few quick divorce tips that we provide our clients. Number 1, don't move out of your house just because your wife tells you to. Remember, that's your house too. And number 2, don't blow through the financial statements that you file with the court. These are key exhibits, and they often make or break your case. And number 3, watch the social networking. Expect your wife's lawyer to do a thorough online search. And incidentally, this is a two-way street. Now, a bonus tip. Partner with your attorney in assembling evidence. You're one of the 2 leading experts on your life and marriage. Your attorney needs your input to achieve your goals. And finally, talk to your attorney before taking action. Good luck.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Nashville area attorneys, a partner men can count on. Online at CordellCordell.com. Cordell & Cordell, 810 Crescent Center Drive, Suite 160, Franklin, Tennessee, 37067.
Winning this award is truly like winning the Super Bowl of car dealer awards for Mercedes-Benz.
Edwin Vickery, General Manager of Mercedes-Benz of Music City.
Culture, eat strategy for lunch. You have to hit on all cylinders to win this award. You can strategize all you want. You got to still have the right tools, and our tools are our people.
Live the dream with 3-time Mercedes-Benz Best of the Best Award winner, Mercedes-Benz of Music City. Go to mbofmc.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Chase Elliott scores the win in the Ally 400 at the Nashville Super Speedway.
Nashville's exclusive home for NASCAR. 102.5 and 106.3.
Terang, it's a high fly ball.
We got pass rushers.
Awesome game.
Checkered flag in the air.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Now let's see if we can bring them to life, all right?
Bringing you entertainment and informative sports talk during your workday.
Smart, funny, classy, and I like him a lot.
This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase McCabe, Willie Donick,
Mason, touchdown, Tennessee,
and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and on the Game Nashville app.
This is a new level of geek you got going on here.
Final hour, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5 The Game, Game Nashville app. Follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game. All kinds of stuff going on. Willie Donick and Derek Mason here with you. Chase will be back with us on Wednesday. Don't forget, we've got all kinds of good stuff coming up this week. We'll be at Titans training camp a little bit later this week for a couple of days. A little bit later in this hour, too, we'll tell you about development with the Predators. Last week, of course, Derek was on vacation. I was finishing up my vacation when this news came down that Nashville will be hosting the draft and the awards ceremonies next year at the end of June. That's going to be a lot of fun. And also, Joachim Kimmel, their first-round pick, had an outstanding World Junior Championships, the top tournament for ages kids under 20. And so Finland got to the gold medal game, and he played a big part of it. We'll tell you a little bit more about that later in the hour. But first, let's hit some fantasy football questions. We've been giving you that daily dose to get you ready for your draft. We'll get Nick Keyser involved in this too. And so here's what I got cooked up for you guys today. So do you feel a little rusty, Derek, without these daily questions? You know, you've been on vacation. Are you okay?
It's like riding a bike, man. You never forget.
Okay,
you know?
okay.
You can put me out on the football field. I'll still catch the passes.
Okay.
Let's go.
Okay. Here's question number 1. Current events. Today, Carolina names Baker Mayfield the starting quarterback. There was kind of very little doubt, right? We kind of know. Is Baker Mayfield a good, solid number 2 fantasy quarterback? Would you take him before you would take a lot of other guys? Like, I mean, maybe you can say, look, I'll take him as my starting quarterback. I don't know that you – I kind of like to be playing against you if that's the case. I don't think you want him out there every week. But would you like having him as your backup quarterback on your fantasy team?
Yeah, I would. I mean, again, I said this earlier. Regardless of what you think about Baker Mayfield, regardless if you think he's immature and all this other stuff, the dude is a really good quarterback in this league, okay? The franchise he went to, Cleveland, they were a doormat before he got there. He made Cleveland relevant. Last year, he was dealing with a lot of injuries. So that contributed to, the way he played. But, yeah, I would take him as a number 2 quarterback. Not my number 1 guy, but I think they got enough around him if guys indeed do stay healthy. Now, their receiving core is beat up.
See, that's another factor.
Their receiving core is beat up, man. So, he's going to have to use a lot of McCaffrey. And then if you use too much of McCaffrey, he might get beat up. So that's why I wouldn't draft him as a number 1 guy. But, yeah, number 2.
All right, Nick, your thoughts?
I don't know. I kind of agree with Derek in the sense of he's not my number 1. He's definitely a 2. What really stands out to me is if McCaffrey can stay healthy, okay? That's the biggest thing for me because if I'm going to look for a quarterback, I want to make sure he's throwing the ball a lot more. I don't think he's really going to be doing that. I don't think we're going to see the same Baker that we saw in Cleveland necessarily. So I'm kind of curious to see how they use him. But let's say that McCaffrey goes down. He's going to be throwing the ball a lot more. So I would look at him. If he's on the waiver wire for some reason in whichever league that I'm in, I may go grab him.
Okay, so waiver wire for you, but you're not maybe excited about drafting him as your number 2 quarterback.
I don't think so.
You'd pass.
Yeah, I think I would pass on him.
But Derek is going to look at him as a second quarterback drafted.
I would look at him as a second, especially now, Nick's right. I mean, a lot of it is predicated on Christian McCaffrey and, DJ Moore's hurt, Robbie Anderson's hurt, Terrence Marshall is hurt. All these guys are hurt that are his key guys.
Okay, I'm going to recycle one for you, D-Mase, that we threw out there Friday. Now that we have the closure, we think, on Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
11 weeks. You know what it is. Do you feel too icky? Would you ever consider having him on your fantasy team? Or do you have, standards? Or are you just sitting there going, look, it's just the numbers, man. I don't care. I want to win. I'll pick him up.
Hey, I pick him up.
You pick him up.
I pick him up. It's a piece of paper. It's just I'm putting his name on a piece of paper. It's numbers. Yeah. I'm not worried about that other stuff. Is the other stuff. I'm trying to win a fantasy football game.
Okay.
Okay, but I think we'll see more team names with him being made fun of him than we will see him rostered.
You'll see a lot of those.
There's a lot of material there, I think, for that type of thing. No question. All right. That was a good one we kicked around. We got a lot of response last week on Twitter. All right. Official question number 2. You've got now the Denver Broncos, who I was listening to the MMQB this morning on their podcast. They really like the Broncos. They have the Broncos ranked ahead of the Titans in the overall rankings, which is what we started the show. Not a lot of belief in the Titans nationally here, which I guess somewhat surprising me. But now you got the team. They feel like this is the synopsis of the Broncos is they've had the defense. They've got these talented young receivers that they drafted. They just needed the quarterback. Now they've got Russell Wilson. So let's get to the running game. Javonte Williams, North Carolina, rookie year, pretty good, 903 yards. A lot of people are high on him as a guy that could really flourish in that offense now that they have the quarterback. I'm going to throw out a draft position, 16. You're in the second round. You've picked a wide receiver. Let's just say you have a good wide receiver in the first round. You need a running back in the second round. Do you take Javonte Williams? Do you think it's a big breakout season for him?
Man, again, it depends on how they use Melvin Gordon, because Melvin Gordon was their leading rusher last year. So are they going to continue to split the reps? Because if you look at it, both of them had the same amount of attempts and carries last year. Both, and you never see that on an NFL team where they have the same amount of carries.
Melvin Gordon is 29. I can't believe he's that old now.
So I don't know.
I'm looking at some of these websites. They have Javonte Williams way up there.
At the start of the season, I probably wouldn't, because my thing is how are they going to use both of them?
So you're not sold enough that you would jump out in your second round.
He wouldn't be your primary back. It's almost like, if I'm looking at it, it's almost they're going off a feel.
Okay.
Like who's running the best that game. And now granted, Melvin Gordon did miss a game last year, and that's why, the attempts were the same. But if Melvin Gordon is healthy, he's their starter.
Well, see, you would think that. But this was an interesting thing. A quote from Melvin Gordon. This is what he said the other day. I think they have a plan on what they want heading in. This is the Broncos. But as far as the rotation goes, I really don't know. I think they want Vontae to be the guy. But we do rotate. He'll take the first series and then the second series. And then I'll take the next. Then the second series I'll take. Okay, so they're rotating. So there is a rotation.
So that's what I'm saying.
But his feeling is my days are numbered. That they want Vontae to be the guy.
Yeah, because Melvin Gordon has been injured. He missed the game last year, but he has been injured.
So I see. You're partial to veterans. I see how you are.
Yeah, but I'm like, if he was,
you want Kern, you want Gordon,
exactly.
you want the vets.
Hey man, they make the league go around, man. The vets make the league go around.
All right, Nick, what do you think?
It does make the league go around, but I kind of find this to be similar to when Edwards-Helaire came in for me, because I remember drafting him, and he was someone I thought coming out of college would be really good. And really quick, because I know we have to get to our third question here, but I don't think I'd take him. I really don't.
You think it's a little early to take him second round?
I think he's another waiver guy for me, maybe. Now, okay, so if he's available past round like 3 or 4, if he falls, then I take him.
Most leagues have him going well before that, but you never know. I mean, every league is different.
And I think too, here's another thing to point out about Melvin is he had a few breakout games last year, and he got hurt too.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes on him. I don't know if he's going to stay healthy all year. I find that quote very interesting. I think they're going to use the rookie a lot more.
Okay. So Javonte Williams, second year out of North Carolina, 903 yards last year, and Melvin Gordon. That's fantasy question number 2. Then here's the final one. All right, top 3 wide receivers on the board. I'm going to give you 3. I'll even give you some other choices. You name me your top 3 wide receivers, Derek, on your draft board. All right, I'm just going to throw out the names. Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp. All right, those I'm just throwing out 5. You can throw another one that I didn't name. But who are your top 3 wide receivers? You want to do it on the other side?
Yeah.
You need time?
My top 3.
Are you ready? Are you quick to answer?
I'm ready.
All right.
Devontae Adams would be 1.
He's number 1 for you.
Cooper Kupp would be 2.
Okay.
And Mike Evans would be 3.
Mike Evans with 3.
Here's the deal. I don't understand why people sleep on Mike Evans. I have no idea. This dude does nothing but catch the football and put up yardage every year. Look at his career. Just go back and look at his career. People are so quick to write off the guy that has been doing because the young guy does it for a year. I love Justin Jefferson. I love Jamar Chase. But to me, you got to do it more than 1 year. You got to put together some seasons.
Okay.
That's why I go back to, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, and Mike Evans, because Mike Evans, to me, has been doing it since he got in the NFL.
Okay. Nick, you concur?
Ooh.
You're going to go different.
I am going to go different here.
You're your top 3 fantasy wide receivers.
I really am
on
going to
your
go
board.
different. I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp as my number 1.
You go Kupp 1.
I do definitely agree with that. I go Justin Jefferson number 2. And Justin is a very telling, proven guy so far, and he's reliable. I think he's very impressive. And number 3 for me, kind of far-fetched, but this is just my take, Deebo Samuel. He's going to be a dual threat.
Ooh.
And I really think he's someone that's going to garner a lot of points this season. So look to him to be picked up, and I think add a lot of value to your fantasy team.
All right, Nick going off the board and going with Deebo Samuel number 3. All right, those are your daily fantasy questions. We'll have more later in the week. We'll have more tomorrow, as a matter of fact. All right, when we come back, we'll continue with some Titans talk here. We'll hit another position group, an area that we have not discussed yet. And then at 1:30, we will get some words from Jared Stillman. We will get a little sense of what he's going to be up to later this afternoon on his show. He always has some strong opinions. Can you imagine Jared's anticipation for this show today after Saturday's game? I mean, he's going to have every play from Malik Willis scripted out.
It's a must listen. I will be listening.
It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. So he's going to have a little warm-up session with us at 1:30. All right, D-Mase, you have a word.
Yes, I do. I got a word about my good friends over at Cool Springs MD. So, listen, all men listeners, y'all out there, y'all hear me. I need to tell you about Cool Springs MD. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and his wife, Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatments required to improve their quality of life. Cool Springs MD services have already helped many men of Brentwood, Nashville, and the surrounding areas in Tennessee with improving their immune systems, energy levels, cognitive functions, and more. You know why my energy levels are high on this show, because I go check out Cool Springs MD. They are there to connect you with the medical care you require to have a healthy and enriched life. There's no better time to achieve a healthy life. So what are you waiting on? Give Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458. That's 615-486-3458, or visit their website at coolspringsmd.com.
Underdog Picks is back. Get your friends and sign up today at theGameNashville.com. Pick the 3 football underdog teams each week you think will win for a chance to win weekly prizes, like a pair of tickets to a sporting event or to a concert in Nashville. Oh, yeah. Go to theGameNashville.com or the Game Nashville app and sign up and play now. Then tune in every Thursday at noon for our expert picks. Silly Underdogs is presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Chevrolet Buick GMC. We all know that you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day. So with that in mind, we're discounting all of our white vehicles. Well, maybe we should just discount the lighter colors that are close to white too, and maybe the red and blue ones since we celebrate this in America. Okay, fine. I'll discount all the cars, starting right now. On top of that, we want to celebrate all of your hard work with the most American lunch we can think of. Hot dogs. Hot dogs all day on Labor Day. So come kick your feet up, get a new car of any color, and enjoy a hot dog. You can even shop online for a new car with Newton Fast Pass. But you'll have to make your own hot dogs that way. Sorry. Visit NewtonChevroletBuickGMC.com to learn more.
Have you seen the selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches they now have at Genesis Diamonds? If not, prepare to be amazed.
If people really know the watch world, they come in and they're in shock. They're like, I cannot believe you have this selection here. They're able to see them, touch them, feel them.
Meet Genesis watch expert Charlie Rivers, who says over the past few years, Genesis buyers have scoured the world to build a collection of luxury pre-owned Rolexes, including all the hard-to-find models.
Daytonas, Pandas, Sky Dwellers, a huge selection of Submariners, Hulks, Kermits, Rolex. Anything that you could ever possibly want, we have. Every luxury pre-owned Rolex that we have here, we ensure that it's in pristine condition.
So come in today and find the timepiece of your dreams at Genesis. Or if you already own a Rolex and are looking to trade for a different model or even sell it, Genesis can help you get top dollar.
If you have a Rolex, definitely bring it in. I would love to see it and do a complimentary evaluation on it and see what we can do for you.
Genesis Diamonds, now with one of the largest selections of luxury pre-owned Rolexes in America. Green Hills and Cool Springs.
We want to hear from you.
Thanks for taking the call.
Join the conversation. Call or text at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
I'm ready to step this up a notch.
You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Chase, Willy, and D-Mase continues. Jared Stillman will check in with us at the bottom of the hour. A little bit later today, it'll be Nolensville in the Little League World Series on ESPN over at Williamsport. So we wish those youngsters luck as they try to advance. They're in the quarterfinals right now. This is really, really good stuff. Also, you've got this week's Nashville's best deal. It's from Seafood Sensation. Ooh, I'm all ears with that. Seafood Sensation is a lively restaurant in the heart of Nashville that uses the best ingredients and provides a great atmosphere. So get half off a $25 gift card at thegamenashville.com/deals while supplies last. Okay, D-Mase, next position group, the defensive backs.
Yes.
Let's start with Caleb Farley. He played a lot on Saturday. They're getting him a lot of reps. Listening to Mike Vrabel's press conference yesterday, it's clear that they believe he needs to play. And it makes perfect sense. He hasn't played a lot of corner. He hasn't played a lot of football. He only played 3 games last year before the knee went out. And even going back to his days at Virginia Tech, he didn't play a lot of football. There was the COVID, all of that stuff. So he needs time.
He went from wide receiver to defensive back, you know.
Yeah, and what didn't we talk to him about? He was a quarterback at one time in high school, right? So what do you see from him? I love the tools. I love the length. My theory is he's going to look really good on a lot of plays, but I get the sense as everybody talks about him, he's still learning the mental part of the game, the adjustments, the tendencies. You know, how does the defense – I think Mike Vrabel used the example of, you know, how does the defense change based on the situation? The call of the defense might be different on 3rd and 5 as it is 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 10. How does it shift when there's motion, things like that?
Well, he has to learn the nuances of playing that position at this level. Good thing he has, you know, Kevin Byard, you know, behind him. That gives you a lot of confidence. You know, Kevin's going to make sure the guys are in the right position, they're in the right defense. And you just hope that once the ball snaps, that you do exactly what you're supposed to do. He has the tools, being 6'2". You know, he hadn't played much football, but you know, I think he will continue to learn that position. One thing that he needs to get better at is he has to learn how to play with his feet, and not necessarily because this is not college football anymore, where you can grab a guy if he's in front of you and all this other stuff. He has to trust his footwork, trust what he's studying in a classroom, picking up on tendencies of wide receivers, knowing offenses, knowing particular wide receivers he's going against. There was one play against Tampa where he was covering number 1. I forget the guy's name. He was a quick, shifty guy on the outside. He was in perfect position, but he has to, at the top of the route, the defensive back, Caleb Farley, has to learn how to drop his hips. He wasn't necessarily in good enough position to drop his hips and come back to the ball. Well, he wasn't, so what did he do? He grabbed the guy. He grabbed his jersey. First he grabbed his shoulder pads, then he grabbed his jersey. I don't know why they didn't call a pass interference, but they didn't, okay? Sometimes they're just not going to call it. He has to learn how to, because in the regular season, when he's going up against Jamar Chase or one of these other guys, they're going to call that every time.
And a much better quarterback.
And a much better quarterback. They're going to call it every time. So he has to start learning how to play with his feet. learning how to drop his hips and get in and out of breaks. Being 6'2" at that position can be a disadvantage if you allow it to be. You got to always be in a position where you can break down and transition from point A to point B as a receiver do. But he has to learn not to use his hands so much, especially in a league that caters toward the passing game.
So how do you use Farley effectively? I'm a little, in a perfect world, because you've got these other guys now. You just brought in Lonnie Johnson Jr. that you traded for another guy from Vegas. You got McCreary in there. I think you have a little bit better sense of what you have with Fulton, et cetera. And then you got these other scrappy veteran guys that, are fighting for those last few jobs that all play special teams that, that they're not quite as talented as Farley. So what's the right role for Farley? I'd hesitate to have to play him every down for exactly what you just said. I feel like he could be exploited by some veterans.
He's going to take his lumps early. That's just the way it is. But what separate the okay or the good corners from the really good to potentially great corners is that, I may have a bad play. Yeah, I may give up a touchdown or I may give up a deep ball, but I got a short memory. I'm not letting that particular pass or that particular touchdown affect me moving forward. Every defensive back in the National Football League has gotten beat. Deion Sanders has gotten beat. Rod Woodson has gotten beat. Champ Bailey has gotten beat. Darrelle Revis, all those guys, and I'm talking about great ones, they have gotten beat. But they come back, and they forget about, them getting beat or for a touchdown or a first down. They come back and they're aggressive. And they're competing. They're constantly competing. That's where he has to get to a point where he's constantly competing, knowing that, hey, listen, I'm going to get beat, once or twice, but am I in a position to make a play? Am I playing the right defense that the team is asking me to play? Am I playing the right technique, or am I getting beat because I'm consistently playing the wrong technique? Well, if you're getting beat consistently playing the wrong technique, you ain't going to be at that position for a while.
The defense overall looked very dominant. Of course, it was against sort of a JV team, but it wasn't anywhere close to all of the starters.
And that's going to be another transition for
them. You got to like the depth of the defense, right? It's really coming.
I love the depth of the defensive line and the linebackers. I don't know how much depth there is, like true depth there is at the cornerback position. I really don't. I mean, if you're looking at
which is why I think they made the moves.
Looking at the defensive line, defensive line has depth. Linebackers, they have depth. The secondary, I don't think there's much depth behind Kevin Byard and Amani Hooker and Caleb Farley and Fulton. I don't think. Now, Roger McCreary, he's going to be a bad man. He's going to be a good player. Yeah, he's going to be a good player. But that's only 3 corners. You need more than that in this game. You need, guys that could potentially rotate because, it's a physical game. You're going to get hurt. So if you're not playing, I need another guy to come in and step in and get the job done. So,
well, see, that's why they picked up Lonnie Johnson Jr., who was an interesting guy in that he was traded to Kansas City and then released by Kansas City early in camp, and the Titans snapped him up. He got in there a little bit. I want to learn more about him. He's a little bit like Farley in that he's long. He can play some safety. So I think that's what they're trying to address with what you're saying is depth in the defensive backfield. The other guy that they made the play for while you were gone.
Second-round pick.
He was a second-round pick out of Kentucky, and they traded him. And then the Kansas City, I guess he didn't fit with what they were doing. But I think people were surprised that he was available, so the Titans jump on him. They also acquired Tyree Gillespie from the Raiders, and they traded a 7th-round pick to get him. So we'll see where he fits. That's an extra safety.
That tells you they feel they need depth in the secondary, whether it be safety or cornerback.
Yes. You mentioned some of the other spots. What did you think of Rashad Weaver? That's another guy that I was curious to see, and he – after missing so much time last year, he looks pretty good.
He played well. Granted, again, it's preseason, but, he was given an opportunity, and he made do in his opportunity. And he's been playing well. He's been playing well in practice. He gives you the ability to, you don't have to – Bud Dupree doesn't have to be a 3-down guy with Weaver. Weaver can kind of spell Bud Dupree or Rashad Evans, whichever one.
Landry, you mean?
Yeah, Rashad Landry, not Evans. Harold Landry. He can give those guys a break whenever needed. So all you ask of guys, young guys, is to come in and do what you're supposed to do. Do what you're supposed to do. And when given an opportunity, perform. And Weaver has done that.
When we come back, we'll check in with Jared Stillman as we move down the home stretch of Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on this Monday afternoon. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.
This is Phil Tomasino, and this is Smashville.
Cousins put it in front of the score. Tomasino lofts it in. 2-0 Nashville.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Hey, football fans, Dak Prescott here. And I'm here to tell you that with NFL Sunday Ticket only on DirecTV, you can watch your favorite team no matter where you live. Because NFL Sunday Ticket gives you every live out-of-market game every Sunday afternoon. So switch to DirecTV and learn how to get the 2022 NFL Sunday Ticket season included at no extra cost. Call 1-800-DIRECTV.
With choice package and above, 24-month agreement required. Call for details.
Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe here to tell you about my drink of the summertime. You know it, Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Screwball is the first and most awarded peanut butter whiskey in the world, and it's an original, just like me, the suit. I take Screwball as a shot, but it's great on the rocks in an old-fashioned, an espresso martini, and many other recipes. So next time you're out and about, ask for Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2022 Screwball Spirits, LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
Time to tell you about QC Kinetics. Are you sick and tired of the constant pain in your joints? It could be your knees, could be your hips, combination. Maybe it's even your back. At this time of the year, hey, it's the dead of summer. You want to be moving pain-free and take advantage of the last few weeks of summer when everybody's outside having a good time. QC Kinetics is helping people with this every day, and they give them the lasting pain relief using the latest advances in regenerative medicine. The science is simple. They concentrate on your own body's healing agents and apply them to your aching joints, restoring and repairing the damaged tissue. No drugs, no steroids, and no surgery. And the best thing is there's no downtime here. They're helping people all over America. They've got clinics right here in our listening area. This is exciting and new, so find out more about it. This could be for you. Call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024 for QC Kinetics.
Hey folks, Joe Rexford here inviting you to kick off week 1 of the NFL season. It's so close with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with promo code Joe102 to get on the action. You can turn game day into payday all season long. A lot of possibilities with the free bets. I will say locally here, I'd be looking at the Titans in that Giants game, looking at that spread. I think it looks good for betting on the Titans there. Play your way. Bet on more than just the final scoring way. You're everything from touchdown, total yards, catches, all kinds of prop bets. You can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. Don't fumble your chance to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code Joe102. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports partner of the NFL. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. Only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issue is now withdrawable free bets that expire 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Give me a problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Robbie and Rex Road here on ESPN.
Welcome into Chase, Willy, and D-Mace.
Somebody company is delivered.
There's a new way to hear 102.5 The Game. Nashville's best sports talk on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24. You now have 2 choices to hear our great sports programming.
Get the extra point, no problem.
And the Nashville Predators. Scores! Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Hey, this is Pete Weber. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Back here on Chase, Willy, and D-Mase. Willy Donegan and Derek Mason here with you. Coming down the home stretch. We'll be at Titans training camp a little bit later this week. They have made a couple of transactions today. They have waived wide receiver Terry Godwin and outside linebacker Justin Lawler. They have waived in the injured category Shakur Brown, who they picked up. Remember after we talked to John Robinson, he said we're going to be signing a cornerback. That ended up being Shakur Brown, but he's injured and now waived. They have also let go defensive back Shaheem Carter. So we just talked about the two guys that they made moves for, veterans who I think are going to be in the plans, Gillespie and Johnson. And so they have made some moves along the defensive backfield there. In just a moment, I think we're going to be joined by Jared Stillman. We're going to have that in just a moment. Remember, at Williamsport today, 2 o'clock scheduled start for the Nolensville Little League. We'll also come down the stretch and talk a little bit of Predators in the last segment of the show, the weekend and the last week or so for Joachim Kimmel, their first-round pick, who had an outstanding week in the World Junior Championships out in Edmonton. That was really good stuff. So we're going to talk to Jared here in just a moment. As soon as we get him hooked up, we'll bring him in. Let me give you another thing to chew on here, Derek. What did you think of Hassan Haskins? The more I watch him, the more I think he is just a really good fit for the Titans running game. I like how he runs. I wrote down a couple of things as I watch him. He's got that one that, they always say, stick your foot in the ground, make the one cut. He runs hard. And I just thought there were some runs of 7 to 10 yards or even 4 to 6 yards where I'm saying, hey, that's a good run. Like he's moving the pile. I like what I see from him so far.
Well, he continues to move his feet even after contact. If someone's on him, he's continued to drive in his feet. That's what he did in Michigan, and he's doing the same thing here with the Titans. He's a physical runner, and I think what they like the most about him is because when you draft a guy that high, you figure, okay, he can run the football, and that's not a problem. They saw what he did at Michigan, in the Big Ten, so they knew, hey, this guy can run between the tackles. But he's a guy that you can have in pass pro as well. He's a guy that can pick up the blitz from that linebacker or that safety, and he's a guy that can catch the ball out the backfield.
He did make a nice catch in the 2-minute drill there.
Exactly. So these are things that are pluses for him. These are things that will keep him on the field, especially if Derrick Henry needs some rest, which he really never does, but if he needs some. So I'm impressed with what he's been able to do.
All right, let's check in with Jared Stillman. Stillman & Company coming up at the top of the hour at 2 o'clock. All right, Jared, you've been, I'm sure, getting ready for this thing ever since Saturday's game ended. You were at the press conference yesterday asking questions with Mike Vrabel. What's your lead today on your show?
I think the big question is, what do we think about Malik Willis's development now? So I think that's the question to ask everybody. I heard Derek today. It's funny because sometimes some of the things Derek says I think are absolutely out of this world crazy. And I just say, Derek just said that, so it doesn't count. But then when Derek confirms the belief that I have, I'm like, well, Derek said, and he would know. And so, I think kind of echoing a lot of the sentiments that Derek has. This is the way I look at it, right? Malik Willis is trying to learn how to drive a car, and right now he's got his learner's permit. Willie, you've just been through this. Derek, you've been through it. That learner's permit period, and for me as a driver, was, there was a lot of learning, a lot of anxiety, a lot of hesitancy, and I kind of feel that way when I watch Malik play quarterback. I'll say this. I went back and watched it yesterday, watched the whole game again, kind of charted every decision made by those two quarterbacks. And I don't think Logan's decisions were very bad. I thought the interception, he underthrew the football, and he's got to stop doing that. I'm not sure Logan would ever take a shot like that if he were inserted into the game as a backup, unless the Titans were down by 17 points in the fourth quarter. And at that point, it's just chuck it down the field. I thought Logan's decision-making was really good. And so, it's weird because I watched the game and I thought, oh, man, this guy, he is having a rough camp. He is having a rough game. They're not getting anything established. And then I went back and I watched it, and I saw a ball that he maybe underthrew a little bit for Roberson, but Roberson could have made a play on it, and he didn't. And so, I keep thinking about, okay, if that's Robert Woods in that situation, it's a lot different. So I think that, kind of the big thing is, how comfortable is everybody now with Malik and his development? How comfortable is everybody with where they are, and how comfortable, would the Titans be with him as a backup quarterback? I don't think they'd be very comfortable. And so between that, then I watched all the other similar offenses this weekend, whether it was San Francisco, Minnesota, the Rams, just looking at their backup quarterbacks and what that looks like for those teams as well. So that's kind of my thoughts going into today's show.
See, I thought Jared was talking about when you're a parent and your child is going through the process of the learner's permit. That's a whole new ballgame, too, when you're sitting there in that passenger seat going, okay, do you see this car coming up here?
You got to be calm with them, Willie.
That's right. And that's how I feel about Malik playing quarterback right now. And that's not a bad thing. I don't want people to interpret that as, oh, Jared thinks Malik's bad, other than the fact that I don't feel comfortable putting him in an NFL game right now. And I think that there's a big difference between I don't feel comfortable with putting him in an NFL game right now and how I feel about Dylan Radins, which is I'm not comfortable ever putting him on the field in the NFL.
Hey, I don't blame you. Obviously, I'm sure you were listening to the show. My assessment of Dylan Radins, I don't think he's good enough to make this team. I think this was another situation just like Isaiah Wilson that they whiffed on a first rounder with him and they whiffed on a second rounder. Cut your losses and move on, because nothing Dylan Radins did Saturday showed me that he should be a part of the final roster.
Yeah, it's funny. I was texting with Trevor Mattish, who was watching the game, and as we all, Trevor, played offensive line for 10 years in the league, and Trevor's going to be on tomorrow kind of breaking it down. And this goes back to, again, confirming my beliefs. I felt like watching Radins, even in the individual drills with the other tackles. I kept coming on the air at practice and saying, I don't think that he has the power that the other guys have. I mean, I don't think he – and, what do I know about it? I can't look at a guy's hips or anything like that and tell you, oh, yeah, this guy's going first round. But I watched, the first game. Then I watched the second game. And there's not one NFL caliber pass rusher that he has any prayer against. The only thing he can do is kind of get in the way of a guy. Well, anybody can do that. I could do that. And that's really what he is. And then there's the idea, well, maybe they kick him into guard. Well, he's not good at that either. I mean, I think the reality is the Titans whiffed on it. I'm with you, Derek. I believe that the biggest mistake that the Titans made in the offseason was not tendering David Questenberry for $2.2 million, if for no other reason to give this team just a little bit of insurance. Just give them a little something that makes them think like, hey, if it doesn't work out, we always got this guy. So they didn't do that. He's going to be starting at right tackle for the Bills. And now they don't have a veteran tackle on this roster. They don't have a Jason Matthews on this roster. Forget about Bruce Matthews. They don't have a Jason Matthews on this roster right now.
That's a big thing.
And they've always had one. Whether it's Kelly,
Dennis Kelly, yeah,
or Sambrilo or Questenberry, or even last year Kendall Lamb. He was terrible, but at least he had played some tackle in the NFL. They don't have that, so I think that I think I'm with you, Derek. I do not think that Dylan Radins has proven that he can play in the NFL at all.
So is there anybody that impressed you on defense?
That's a really good question. It's funny because I really liked Shakur Brown in practice and in the two Tampa practices, and then all of a sudden they just cut him. So what do I know? But I do think that on defense for this team, Farley, I think Farley's fine. He's just a day late and a dollar short on everything. And it's the same way in practice as it is in the games. And there's one thing that keeps happening to him, and this happened to Malcolm Butler a couple years ago, where he keeps getting burned deep all the time. And I don't know why that is. And I asked Vrabel about it yesterday. Vrabel just didn't really answer it. But it happened in the practice. It's happened in practices where McMath will get behind him. It happened in one of the Tampa Bay practices. Blaine Gabbert just missed his man or it would have been a touchdown. And it happened on Saturday where Scotty Miller got past him. And if Kyle Trask connects on that ball, it's a touchdown. And I know Kyle Trask didn't connect on the ball, but if that's week 2 and that's Josh Allen, that's a touchdown. And all of a sudden that's going to be a problem. So that was one thing that I keep noticing as Farley keeps getting beat deep. And Derek, you played this game. You know that if a DB is going to move their head or if they're going to gamble in the backfield, you're just waiting for the opportunity to run by them for a touchdown. And so I'm worried about that. Other than that, I'll say this. I think it's time for Tier Tart and Rashad Weaver to move up from the junior varsity. I think they've, in my opinion, earned their Letterman's jackets. I think that they'll be huge contributors.
They look good. All right, Jared, before we let you go, we kicked this around a lot earlier in the show. Brett Kern at $2.75 million against the cap, or Stonehouse at the league minimum, $700,000.
Kern, not even close. Not even a discussion. I'm not dealing with the ebbs and flows of a rookie punter. Not with the team that I think can compete for the Super Bowl. With Kern back there, he may not kick every ball great, but with Kern back there, I'm never going to have to worry about is he going to catch the snap, or I'm never going to worry about is the kicker going to like the way he holds. I'm not wasting time with, oh, my God, I'm worried about the punter this week. And with Kern, if they decide to let go of Stonehouse, there's a pretty good chance he ends up on the practice squad. And if things don't work out with Kern, then you just make the switch. I know his contract becomes guaranteed at the end of the year. But in the NFL, I'm not playing around with the punting position and then getting a kick blocked or getting it shanked, or like when Kern got COVID or hurt his wrist or whatever it was in 2020, they played the Colts, blew 2 punts, and it cost them the game. I'm not doing that. And so for me, I like having the idea of a Craig Hentrick or a Brett Kern back there, a veteran guy that I know knows what they're doing. So I'm going with them.
So, I mean, that is something we pointed out. The Titans have basically had 2 punters since 1998. So that's a pretty good track record of reliability back there. Jared, thanks a lot for the time. We're still trying to figure out how to pull out the headphone thing that you got stuck in the jack here in the studio.
Yeah.
We heard that was you.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate scenario that popped up.
Okay, so it's out of commission still. So if we have a 3-man crew, like when Chase gets back Wednesday, like we've got to have this addressed.
We'll get it figured out.
We got to.
Yeah.
We'll get it figured. And I know, and I know you were bummed that Tom Brady didn't make the trip.
Oh my God, I was bummed.
There would have been a stalker along the sideline there. Jared would have figured out.
What I'm worried about. All right, so we're going to start to show at practice, and I'm not worried about this, but it's just an unfortunate situation. And I want Derek's opinion as a former player who, when he was competing, Derek, I'm going to be sitting out here and talking about it. This guy didn't play well. That guy stinks. This guy, Radens, he's what. I'm not going to be holding back today, so it'll be within earshot of the players. So that should be quite a grand experience for everyone.
If they don't let you in, you don't know why.
those security cameras are going to be on it. All right, Jared, we're looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us.
See you guys.
All right, Stillman & Company will be coming at you from Titans training camp today at 2 o'clock. Titans are about to get on the practice field. When we come back, we will switch to the ice rink here. There's a little news about the Predators' first-round pick who had an outstanding tournament in the World Juniors. We'll tell you what his plans are for the upcoming season. Stay tuned. You're listening to Chase, Willy, and D-Mase here on 102.5 The Game.
At some point, it's a combination of who did you play and what does your skill set look like.
Get the best analysis of the big stories in the sports world with ESPN's Jason Fitz.
If you reach for a quarterback in the draft because you need one, you're going to set your franchise back 5 years.
Join Fitzy every Wednesday at 4:30. Presented by Blood Assurance. Jason Fitz.
I am 5'9.5".
On ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
A beautiful start to our new work week out there as temperatures top out this afternoon in the mid to upper 80s. Partly cloudy skies, no chance of rain this afternoon. We'll see gradually clearing skies through the evening. For Fox 17, I'm Code Red meteorologist Zach Covey.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the happy face truck today.
This is Chef John from Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville. Invite you to come join us for breakfast and lunch. We are offering some exciting new menu items. For breakfast, we have a smoked prime rib hash. Comes with a sunny side up egg, hominy, caramelized onions. It's a great start to your day. We are featuring a sourdough pancake made with a sourdough bread starter. It's a fun spin on the classic buttermilk pancake. As always, Kitchen Notes is serving biscuits all day. Come join us and create a memorable experience here at the Omni Hotel. Food is all about memories for us. We'd like you to start a new memory here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Hotel.
Breakfast at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Arthritis and rheumatic conditions are leading causes of disabilities among adults. Joint replacement could be the solution. The team at Houston Clinic Orthopedics approaches each case with a complete evaluation to see if surgery is right for you. Houston Clinic Orthopedics specializes in arthritis, hip, knee, and shoulder replacements, hip fractures, osteoarthritis of the hip, and joint pain. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Ford South. We all know that you're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day. So with that in mind, we're discounting all of our white vehicles. Well, maybe we should just discount the lighter colors that are close to white too, and maybe the red and blue ones since we celebrate this in America. Okay, fine. I'll discount all the cars, starting right now. On top of that, we want to celebrate all of your hard work with the most American lunch we can think of. Hot dogs. Hot dogs all day on Labor Day. So come kick your feet up, get a new car of any color, and enjoy a hot dog. You can even shop online for a new car with Newton Fast Pass. But you'll have to make your own hot dogs that way. Sorry. Visit NewtonFordSouth.com to learn more.
Hey everybody, Loan Pronto is rescuing a lot of home buyers and homeowners right now with great mortgage rates. They've got 30-year fixed APRs in the 4s, 15-year APRs that start with a 3, and so lots of people are refinancing to do home improvements or any other things that might be important to them to get the finances working at full throttle. And now that rates have come back down, lots of folks who had to take out loans with 5 and 6% rates just a few months ago are now refinancing to shave hundreds off of their monthly payments. Loan Pronto will get you the lowest rate no matter what your goal. Not all lender mortgages are created equal, and Loan Pronto is known for being the low-rate leader. So find out more about how Loan Pronto can help you at the end of the day keep more money in your pocket. Also, ask about their home equity line program that can get you some cash without doing a full refi. Do it now. You can skip your next 2 house payments. Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Jared Stillman.
If you get 3 games where he doesn't turn the ball over, you're going to the Super Bowl.
Caroline Fenton.
I don't know if he would be open to joining another team.
Stillman and Company. Afternoons from 2 to 6.
Presented by TriStar Moving.
On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app. This is Chase, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and on the Game Nashville app.
Back here for the final segment, Chase, Willy, and D-Mase. The Predators have made an announcement. David Poile saying today that the team has assigned forward Joakim Kimmel to the Finnish League's JYP for the Finnish national junior team. He's only 18 years of age. He was, of course, the first-round pick, 17th overall. The Predators were really surprised that he fell that low in the first round back in July. He helped lead Finland to a silver medal in the World Junior Championships. And I know, Nick, you were following. I watched some of the game. It was a great gold medal game. It was in Edmonton. So, of course, Finland is the road team, right? This is a heavy Canadian crowd. Finland's down 2-0. They fight back and tie it. Kemmel scored the tying goal. And then the game goes to 3-on-3 overtime, which was an interesting decision. And it was a very exciting overtime. Finland basically had the puck, Derek. It was in the air going in the goal. And Mason McTavish, who is a great prospect in his own right. He was probably the MVP of the tournament. I guess he was named the MVP. He made the saving play. It got behind the goalie, but he knocked it out of the air with his stick and then pulled it off of the goal line. Canada ends up going down and scoring the game-winning goal. So they went from an inch from losing the game to winning. But from the Predators' perspective, Kemmel had a great tournament. He's only 18, so he's playing – a lot of these kids are 19 who were drafted the year before. So the fact that he ended up on basically the all-tournament team was really something. He was the second leading scorer in the tournament. So a lot of very good signs for him. Now, the fact that they're sending him back to Finland this year tells you he's not ready to make the NHL right now in their eyes. But I think it's a good sign. It's another prospect, and it's another thing that has you saying, okay, it's smart that they held on to that pick because they may have gotten something good here. That's what you have to hope for. There's a long way to go, but a very encouraging tournament for him. And all of the scouts, a lot of the people that covered Corey Pronman is a guy I always pay attention to. He really liked what he saw the entire tournament from Kemmel. I like seeing that.
Yeah. I mean, so what happens when they does he play for the Finland national team when they send him back, or what league is he playing in?
Yeah, he's basically playing in the top league in Finland.
Okay.
And
can they pull him out anytime they want to?
If they wanted to, and I don't think they plan on it, or else he would. I think they would maybe bring him to Milwaukee, or they would bring him to. So maybe he'd just be that phone call away. I think they see him down the road. There will be another World Junior Championships that he'll be eligible for again. I think it's going back to its normal time, which is usually between Christmas and New Year's, so he'll have a chance to do that. So intriguing. He played against men last year and did reasonably well. So he may be on a faster track. You'd love to see where he is next year. You know, I'd love to see him sort of get into the picture. Next year would be awesome. But again, you got to be patient with guys like this.
Yeah,
he's so
still
young.
a teenager.
Yeah, he's 18. I mean, that's really something. But he had a very, very good showing against the best players in the world his age and a year older. And as a year younger, he was one of the top 5 guys in the tournament at his position for sure. So good stuff on Joakim Kemmel. And so hopefully he'll do well. The other thing, I mean, Derek, the draft's coming to Nashville next year. We'll see the next,
I saw that.
go-round.
I saw that the awards show, right? The NHL awards show.
They're putting the two together.
Yeah, and the draft is coming to Nashville. Kudos to Nashville. When was the last day they had the draft? What was it?
2003.
2003, okay. So
when Derek was in the prime.
Exactly. So what, 19 years later?
Yeah.
They're back here in Nashville.
And I mean, it'll be 20 by the time the draft is held. So
exactly.
Pretty interesting. A generation has gone by. And I was at that one, and that was a loaded draft, by the way. They picked up Ryan Suter and Shea Weber, Kevin Klein.
Oh, wow. Well, hopefully they can have another one of those drafts.
That would be something. And this is supposed to be a loaded draft, a draft that is deep in talent.
Okay.
So, it's coincidentally here, and you look back on that 2003 draft, it was historically one of the best drafts ever. There were so many great players taken in that draft. There's still players still playing today that were taken in that draft. So
hopefully
who knows?
They can have another one of those next year.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. All right,
the city will be ready for it.
Oh, it'll be ready. That they're going to do it right
exactly
here in this town for that. So something to look forward to in late June. And then the other thing we were laughing about on Friday is the number of Blackhawk fans. Remember, we used to always have fun with the Blackhawk fans when they would try to get tickets to the Blackhawks games. They went through that period of time where they were really coming in mass when they started to get good. A lot of the bandwagon jumpers, and they had a great team, obviously. Now they're on the other end of the spectrum. They're like trying to get the first pick, so they'll have another reason to come to Nashville, and we'll even let them in the building.
Oh, we'll let them in the building.
They can come in to see who they pick first or second.
What if they lock out the Blackhawks fans even to that?
You got to get in. You got to have the 615 area code to get in. No, I think there will be great atmosphere in the building, but it will be fun to see the Blackhawks jerseys around there.
Yep. Well, Willie,
Yeah, we
good
got
to
it
be
done.
back.
Okay, we're getting
Again,
back in the flow.
yes, we're getting back in the flow. Yeah, today
And
was
we'll
a
be
good show.
Yeah, good show. Chase will be back with us on Wednesday. Titans training camp. We'll be out there Wednesday and Thursday. Jared is ready and rocking to go at Titans training camp as we speak. Practice going on. Also, good luck to Nolensville out in Williamsport. They're in a weather delay right now. They're going to take on the team from Indiana when things clear up there. So hoping for the best out there. So D-Mase, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, and we out.